Hello and welcome back to TNWKS, the Now We Know show, the show where we discuss a topic of interest, and by the end we will have learnt something new, and hopefully you will too. Aha! Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes! If you enjoy the Now We Know Show podcast, support Zak Wylde Productions on Patreon or join our members on YouTube for early access, ad-free content and exclusive episodes. And in case you hadn't guessed, I'm not Charlton Heston, I am Zak.
And I'm not a gorilla, I'm Buzz!
I'm Jack.
Yay!
Yay! And here we are!
And our 100th episode of the Now We Know Show podcast.
Woo! 100!
So if you're viewing this on YouTube, you will be able to see us for pretty much, I think it's the first time. Yeah.
Probably.
The first kind of officially proper 100%
we would have done
video one.
Well, I've got to say these are very hot.
Yes.
I think we need to explain why we're standing here, or sitting here in this case for a change, because we're not standing. We're not in the dungeon studio.
Wait, we're not? Where are we?
We are in the tower studio.
Yeah, the tower.
We've come from the dungeon and we're upstairs now.
Yeah.
And we, for those people listening, we're actually wearing gorilla masks and
A Charlton Heston mask.
And I think that needs to be explained, really.
Yes, and that's because we are doing an episode on Planet of the Apes.
It's a Superfans episode.
Yes.
Because we got Jack in, who's our Planet of the Apes superfan.
I mean, I'm a super fan of Planet of the Apes, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon I'm a very good fan, I am.
A good fan, okay.
I'm a good fan.
Do you have a box of Planet of the Apes stuff?
That's right.
I have one figure from the Tim Burton movie. He's over there.
Jack's brought in his
my
merch
God.
box. His merch box. And, also has to be said that, of course, we've got a new Planet of the Apes movie that has just come out.
I know, yeah.
I'm also wearing a Planet of the Apes t-shirt. Does
Ooh.
that give me extra points?
Yeah, well,
Definitely. I reckon so.
You are our super fan this week, Jack.
This is General Ursus from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Now, I wouldn't have known the name of that character. I would have just gone for generic
So there you go.
gorilla man.
You are not a super fan then.
You've automatically been demoted.
You've been demoted.
Well, you're 1 point above, all right? I'm just slightly below.
It's all right.
Okay. You're a good fan.
I got the main character's name wrong.
I'm an excellent fan, and you're like a super fan.
And you are Charlton Heston. You were
Charlton
in
Heston.
the original film.
I'm sitting on a whiteboard behind me.
In a really like old mask.
Yes, it is. Oh, it is. Poor old Charlton Heston.
Honestly, the people who are listening to this on Spotify, etc., they're not going to know what we're talking about.
All right, so let's get to it.
Okay, but before we get into Planet of the Apes, it's time for
Weird and Wonderful.
Now, I wanted to do something a little different, as this is kind of like our celebratory episode, being
100
episode
episodes.
100, triple digits for the first time ever on the Now We Know Show podcast.
2 years to get this far?
Yeah, it has, pretty much. I think it was like episode 50 where we did that, the Golden Mile.
The Golden Mile.
One of my favourite episodes, actually.
Which is what we're going to discuss briefly.
In this particular segment.
Instead of a weird and wonderful story, we're just going to recount our wonderful moments from the past
99 episodes.
99 episodes.
Yeah.
Can't really recount this one because we haven't done it yet.
What was the last episode you were in, Jack?
What was the last episode I did? I can't remember. Was it The Exorcist? Was I a super fan on that?
Yeah, it could
Oh,
have
no,
been.
I've done one after that.
Yeah, you definitely did. That was like 70 something, I reckon.
Yeah, I've done one after that. I can't remember. There's so many amazing episodes to remember that I can't even remember which was the last one I did.
So, okay,
I'm trying to think as well.
maybe I should kick something off here, and you brought it up, which was the Golden Mile episode, and
I know. It was Hollywood. It was the
the Oscars.
Oscars.
Yeah,
there we go.
yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
So a few episodes ago, actually.
Anyway, and I want to bring up a good memory from that, and
Go
that
for it.
was, I loved that episode where we did. There were a couple of videos in there actually where we literally recreated scenes from The World's End.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, go and watch it. Make that like a goal to do. That's a really good film, and it just gets better and better the more I watch it.
Yeah,
It's one of those
agree.
films that I would definitely say that is the case.
Yeah, I because for me it's like watching my teenage self, and I kind of like associate with that movie a lot. You know, I can see my youth in there.
Yeah, and we're lucky enough that we live quite close to the actual filming locations, or the majority of filming locations in the actual film. So we had the opportunity to actually recreate the Golden Mile, which was really
Exactly.
And
I was in it. Yes.
yeah, that's true.
So there you go.
You're in the end sequence,
I'm
weren't
right
you?
at the end. I'm in the post-apocalyptic part. But that was good fun.
Cool.
Buzz, what was your favourite episode?
What out of
the 99?
the 99 episodes?
You've been in all of them.
Well, I have. I think standout moments. There's been so many where I've just been in absolute fits of laughter.
Yeah.
And one that stands out. It's actually probably not a great episode overall, but one that always comes up, and that's Zach when he was taking us on that journey.
Oh no, not that one.
Doing an adventure game.
Honestly, listeners, viewers, I apologise for that episode.
And
If you actually
it just completely fell apart when we got tackled by the nubbly women.
if you're interested in the nubbly women and what that's about, go and listen to episode 6, the fantasy adventure game Fail. Wow, that was an episode.
I look forward to one day meeting a nubbly woman.
Good grief. So do I.
That was quite fun, yeah. But there have been so many great moments.
Any other ones that are sticking out?
One of my I love obviously those two choices. One of my favourite episodes was actually the folklore one we did of Hertfordshire.
The giant. Yeah,
The one we went on location.
Yeah, so
that was
we
pretty cool.
each picked a story, a local sort of folklore tale that we found interesting, and then we actually
went to the location.
That was really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that episode. That was really cool. And again, that had sort of visual elements as well.
And obviously, I'd like to thank all the guests that we've had in over the past 2 years, but some of the group ones that we've done where they've been taste tests.
The mince pies. I don't think I'll ever eat another mince pie in my life.
Then we get through 52 mince pies.
Oh my god!
And the cider and sausages
cider and sausages was good. The chili sauce.
Oh, the chili sauce one. Jeez, I suffered the next day from that one. I'll tell you. But I think probably one of the earliest ones, not the earliest, but memorable ones, was the beer drinking, the tasting the beer.
Oh
yeah,
no!
Because
that was Elvis juice, wasn't
Elvis
it?
juice.
Zach never drinks, and he was getting
at
drunk.
that point. I never drank anything.
We forced him to drink all that beer.
That would have been like episode 5 or something.
4. That was episode 4.
And episode 50. Obviously, we're like fully into it.
12 pints.
This podcast basically just Zach's journey to becoming an alcoholic. Right from the beginning.
It's all a big conspiracy, isn't it?
He was slurring. It was hilarious. That was fun.
And okay,
that's why we are on the soft drinks now.
Perhaps on that note,
The ape
bring up the conspiracy thing. We have done a fair few of conspiracy theories episodes, but one that has perpetuated throughout the entire 99 episodes of this podcast.
It never gets flat, does it?
We keep bringing up the flat Earth, don't we?
Flat Earth. You can't escape it.
No.
This whole podcast
was flat. It has become a tradition to bring up the flat Earth in some capacity. So for that reason, I think it deserves a mention in the Weird and Wonderful segment of this episode.
Well, that's because the flat Earth theory is quite weird and wonderful. Anyway, I think that's it. For the Weird and Wonderful.
I think we've covered a good portion.
Let's crack on with our main event.
And obviously, we couldn't be episode 100 without our listeners and our viewers.
Exactly.
So thank you guys for all your support.
Everybody out there.
If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you are viewing on YouTube, it would be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we love you all. That's fantastic. You've stuck with us so long.
And all the guests that you said.
Yeah, and the guests as well. I'm going to be getting plenty more in the future.
So stay tuned.
However, we are talking about Planet of the Apes, and it's a very strange thing, Planet of the Apes, because it kind of goes under the radar to a degree, but it is a really long-lasting franchise.
It is,
and it seems to not go out of fashion. Everybody loves it.
And even that you mentioned earlier, there's a film that's come out as of time of recording, literally a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So the franchise is still thriving.
It is,
and it's been going for well over 50 years now.
Well, that's right. I mean, I remember it as a child myself, seeing it for the first time back in the 1970s.
So I do have a question: how many actual Planet of the Apes films are there?
Oh, pause. We've got a lot to discuss before we get there.
Okay, Jack.
We're jumping way ahead.
You're taking the reins.
Super fan.
Take the reins.
You take the reins.
We're going much like time travel is a theme in the Planet of the Apes franchise. We're going way back to the beginning. Okay. So
do we have to pretend to go backwards in time?
There you go.
Sure. Okay.
Somebody quickly open a wormhole from Ben's space.
I don't want to open any holes in this room.
That hole. So for context, I've bought a big box of all of my. I've dug out all of my Planet of the Apes stuff.
He's got stuff.
He's got
Yeah,
stuff.
So I'm going to go through
Legal stuff.
He's
This'll
got a
be-
merch box.
This will be a whistle-stop tour of the Planet of the Apes franchise.
Go for it.
So
go.
Come on,
buckle
I'm
up,
looking forward to this.
buckle up, boys.
Should I put my gorilla mask back on?
I don't think
No,
you'll
it'd
be
be
able
very-
to see it.
Be very distracting.
So I'm going to see out of one eye in it.
I mean, it's better than having like no eye holes at all.
Yeah, I think I'm going to move Charlton so we can see Charlton better. There you go. There's Charlton.
Good.
There you go.
Charlton's my new
He's
like
just over your shoulder. You look like Zaphod Beeblebrox now.
Most important thing is-
Breeblebot.
Beeblebrox.
That'd be a good episode to do at some point.
We're on.
Hitchhikers.
We're on.
Slightly
We're
amazing.
hitchhikers.
Okay,
We're
okay,
mixing up all of my planet time. Planet of the
Okay.
Apes time.
go Planet Ape.
So we're going back in time.
We
We're
are.
going to the very beginning. Okay. So
Very good place to
the
start.
first item I've brought with me is this. And I'm not going to show you the front cover because there's
It's a,
quite a funny story behind
it's a
it.
book. Okay.
So this is
He has a
the-
book in his hands.
This is the original Planet of the Apes novel by Pierre Boulle,
Ooh,
who's a French novelist. This was written in 1963, and this is basically what started it all.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
I've read this. We'll get to that in a second. One of the things I find quite funny about this is you'd think of all the iconic imagery that you could put on the
Yeah.
front cover of a Planet of the Apes
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Even, you see like novelizations of films and they use screenshots from the
From the
films,
films
and things
and
to
things, yeah.
best illustrate it.
Yeah.
I ordered this not knowing what the cover was going to look like.
Okay.
I bet you expected it to turn up with Dr. Zaius on it.
Well, there's a really cool one that's like an ape with like an eye patch and a cigar.
Okay.
It's 3D, so you get a 3D glasses.
Ooh.
And the front of the book is 3D. I didn't get that one.
I hate to think what you're going to reveal.
So what I have here is a planet. I'll show you guys first before I show the camera. It's just a gorilla in a field.
In a field.
Okay, for those viewers out there, show
I
it to
don't
the
know if that's in
camera.
focus. You might be able to get some photos of this stuff, but a gorilla in a field.
What
and
is
what's-
it standing in? It's like pink fern.
Like,
I don't know.
sleeves.
I don't quite get it. It
And what-
kind of looks like King Kong size.
What's really funny about this as well is there's quite a lot of differences between the actual novel and the film.
Right.
One
Won't
of
be
the
the first time.
one of the biggest sort of differences is the aesthetic. So the apes are a lot more technologically advanced
What, in that one?
in the book.
Even though they've got just a gorilla.
So they wear clothes,
Right.
which is why this comes even more funny because
Well,
that means the
we'll
ape's
bring,
just
we'll bring
naked
up the clothes thing a bit later.
and he's covering his nipples.
Yeah,
Really
they-
odd
Maybe,
cover.
maybe they photographed him on a naturist sort of camp out or
They,
something.
they had to make it family friendly. Okay,
Just a super odd
Cover.
cover for a Planet Apes.
it's
But
very
anyway,
generic, isn't it?
Anyway, so that's
Um,
the start, the book.
Yes, as you can see, it's only a pretty small
Paperback.
book. Yeah, I got through this in about 2 days.
Yep.
Really, really good. I recommend it to any fans of science fiction. If you're a fan of the Planet of the
Okay.
Apes franchise,
I'm
and
gonna
you've
have to
not
read
the
it. I've never read that, so I'm gonna have to read it.
book. Yeah, so it's a French novel. So
It's not in French.
It's
though.
not in French.
Damn.
Would have taken me more than 2 days to read it. We follow Ulysses,
Right. Okay.
Ooh.
who is basically George Taylor, Charlton Heston's character.
Okay.
Ulysses Moreau
Okay.
is a French name. Yes, so that's where it all started. The
Okay.
Planet of the Apes novel.
Yeah. Don't give us any spoilers on that because there might, if there's any differences. So
I was going to talk about differences, but I'm thinking
I'm gonna
we'll
give it
try
back to
and.
you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Well, there might be the occasional spoiler that will come up in this podcast.
Mhm.
No worries.
Probably one.
What?
But,
Talking of spoilers, you can't really get
Yeah,
any more spoilery
spoiler.
than
I mean,
any
yeah.
promotion to do with Planet of the Apes.
yeah, they plaster all that imagery on all of the box
I know,
sets
this
of
is
all of the books.
I've always felt that it's like the most amazing scene.
Yeah.
That,
and
like,
it's a twist.
it's
as
the
well.
twist at the end of the movie which you don't want to know about.
Yeah.
You want to just find it at the end of the movie and go, "Oh my lord!"
Yeah.
You know, it's Earth, and they
Yeah.
tell you it on the bloody cover.
Literally. Literally. For those audio listeners out there, we're talking about the
That
Statue of Liberty.
plastered on the front of all the
Yeah,
all
all
the
the
DVDs
merchandise
and
and
all
things.
the Blu-rays.
So if
and
you've not seen the film before, the whole time you're watching the original '60s film, you're waiting for that scene to come up, and
Yeah.
that's obviously the end of the film.
everything. You think, why have they got a Statue of Liberty? I haven't seen it yet.
Right, so that's the book. I'm going to try and speed through as much of this as I can. We then move on to what everyone's probably very familiar with is the original run of 5 films.
Yep.
So we have the original Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
Classic.
I mean, what hasn't been said about the original film.
It's an amazing film.
What are your? I'm interested to know like what your sort of memories of the film were.
Well, back in the 70s, seeing that as a kid, it was just amazing. And I think what was really amazing at the time was the incredible makeup for the actors, because you're using actors to play the actual advanced apes, and I mean, basically, you just had like the chimpanzees, the orangutans, and the gorillas, but the makeup and the way the mouths moved, and you could see the actors' tongues, and it was just stunning. It was absolutely, and I like the way that they designed the kind of like the futuristic, self-designed costumes for the apes as well, because they were completely kind of different from anything that you would say human style.
So
and they had the hierarchy, with the gorillas of being the enforcers and everything, and I just loved the whole idea concept of it. But back and of course you had the situation where it wasn't really explained why the humans, unless you put me right on it. Originally,
got a long way to go.
It wasn't really explained why the humans didn't talk, but that was also one of the big sort of moments in the original movie when obviously you hear Charlton Heston speak.
Yeah, as we heard.
A wonderful wonderful rendition from Zak.
So you mentioned the makeup. John Chambers famously did the makeup. Actually worked for the CIA, and he did a lot of prosthetics for spies.
Ooh.
Also,
I think I would have spotted them really easily if they looked like gorillas.
He also,
I think that's a spy over there. What gave it away? Was it the ginger fur?
It's Dr. Zayas.
There's all these spies that look like Dr. Zayas. Sorry.
Also designed Spock's ears.
Oh right, okay.
And now you know.
And now you know.
That's why we call it the Now We Know show, guys.
Exactly. So, as I mentioned in the book, the apes are a lot more technologically advanced. They're a lot more like civilized. They wear clothes, drive cars, fly planes, everything.
Oh
like that.
Right,
they're pretty much living like the 60s Earth lifestyle, but as apes.
Right, yeah.
The reason they didn't go for that approach in the film was purely budgetary reasons.
Right, I could see that would be Plus, do you know, I would have thought it would be quite odd to see a like aircraft being piloted by an ape. It would have taken. I kind of like the fact that they were doing the archaeological digs in the movie, and trying to explain in a way that human archaeologists now find things, artifacts, and then try and put meaning behind them. But because you're watching it from our perspective, and you know that this golf club isn't. So it's a golf club.
So in that sense, skipping way along just a bit, I don't want to do too far. I just want to mention it.
I've got a lot of stuff.
Just put the brakes on.
You got obviously Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes movie.
Skipping along a bit.
The ending of that is kind of set in the mod.
We'll get to it.
Okay. All right.
Which actually would reflect the book then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Even more so than you realise.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons the aesthetic is the way it is in the original film and the subsequent.
Okay, because of budgetary
basically, yeah. And I actually, like you say, I much prefer the kind of less advanced ape.
Yeah, they're trying to discover their place
because they're like living within like the rock faces, and they built huts and things, and I just think that's a lot more believable. As believable as it can be.
And there was something about, because obviously we've all now been to the cinema and seen the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a new movie, and they had those sweeping tarpaulins on the on where the apes were living. And can you remind me? I'm sure they had the similar setup canvas in the original movie.
There were
because when I saw that, I thought, well, that's a really good homage to the original movie.
Yeah, we'll get to the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That's obviously the most recent one, but they also used like the quite iconic sort of scarecrows as well in that.
Yes, I saw those before they went over the bridge.
Which marks out in the original. It marks out where the Forbidden Zone is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could go on about the original film forever.
Yep.
The sequel is where things get a bit crazy. So we have Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
So this film, essentially the first hour, is very similar to the original film, but we follow Brent, who has basically been sent to find out where Taylor's gone.
Yeah.
George Taylor, played by
Charlton
Heston.
That guy.
Yes.
I'm pointing to his face.
Charlton Heston's character at the end of the original film obviously finds out that he is on Earth by seeing the famous Statue of Liberty ruins.
Mm-hmm.
His friend Dodge has been stuffed and put in a museum.
Yeah.
And Landon has had his brain... He's had
He's
lobotomised.
I always thought that was really quite creepy as a kid.
That is so creepy.
Interestingly, Draco Malfoy, Tom Felton, his character in Rise of the Planet of the Apes is called Dodge Landon.
Right. That's interesting. Because going back to the
You're full of fun facts.
Going back to when that gentleman was lobotomized, that was kind of, for me, especially seeing that as a kid, was quite scary. But also the fact that human had so much knowledge that he could have given them.
Put this right
here.
Jack's holding up the book, by the way.
That he could have passed on, and then they ruined it.
There's a really, really chilling kind of version of how those events play out in the book.
Right. Okay.
And it's quite creepy, and it sort of is a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of one of the chapters. So I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Okay, read the book. Read the book, everybody.
Yes, read the book. Okay,
back to
maybe get a cooler cover than this.
Back to film number 2.
So film number 2.
Yeah. So what I was going to talk about, film number 2, is the fact that obviously you've got those kind of subterranean people.
Humans.
Yeah. So the first hour we're introduced to General Ursus.
Haha.
Not to be confused with General Urko, who we'll get to.
Okay.
Lots of views.
So the first hour is basically like a B&M budget version of the first film.
Yeah.
So we've got Brent, who's been sent to find
Taylor.
What's happened?
George Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
This is another. We'll get to many paradoxes and things that don't quite add
As we
up.
go along, yeah.
Why would they send Brent to find George when they know that he's being sent off into a time thing to see how long he could be in space for? Because their mission is that they know that they've left Earth for a long period of time and they're not going to come back within any space of time. So why send Brent to go and rescue him?
I'm going to say for plot reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
There might be an explanation out there. I've got lots of expanded media.
Maybe that's what the prequels are for. Maybe we will finally get an answer eventually.
So, the last hour and a half, or actually last sort of hour of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, we discover that there is what's called the Doomsday Bomb, or known as the Alpha Omega Bomb, which is buried underground. There is a cult of underdwellers, followers.
They're kind of, if I remember, they're humans who have mutated, but they've got the power of telekinesis, haven't they?
And they worship the bomb. It's kind of their
God.
Yeah. Long story short,
That's a brutal ending.
George Taylor at the beginning, in that first hour I should mention, goes missing. He goes to the Forbidden Zone. He's warned not to by Dr. Zaius. He disappears, and obviously Brent then, his adventure is to go and find Taylor. Taylor comes back at the end. The reason he's not in it so much is because basically Charlton Heston just didn't really want to do the franchise, and he literally wanted to end the franchise.
Right.
Which is why at the end he detonates the bomb.
And the Doomsday Bomb blows the whole planet up.
Yes, and this is where I kind of need I need a visual timeline.
Okay.
Which is why I bought my whiteboard.
Okay.
Okay, we'll explain this one.
Yourself.
We'll explain this one to those listening.
I thought it was kind of like a very weird kind of sidestep to then introduce these kind of subterranean people.
Yeah, it was kind of different.
I wasn't expecting it, especially from like the second film, because it's something they never really address again.
No.
But it'd be interesting if, like, in the films we've got now, that in future sequels, if they did something like it.
Okay, we'll get to the future sequels. Anyway, so Jack's got his whiteboard.
I've got whiteboard out. I'll do my best to audibly explain as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, essentially, we have, if we can put the Earth's timeline into a line, which I know is never that simple because of timey-wimey stuff.
Timey-wimey,
Taylor has left Earth from about here in the 70s.
Okay, in the 70s, and he's jumped forwards.
And he is thrown through... Oh, this pen doesn't work.
Would you like another pen?
We have a dry white pen.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to get the other one? Because that one's a bit dry as well.
We got spares. There you go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Emergency replacement.
2 is 1, 1 is none.
Yes.
So we have what's known as the Hasslein curve.
Right.
Ooh.
So George leaves here.
Yep.
He goes up into space. This is really vague. Up into space through the Hasslein curve.
Yep.
And ends up in the future. Here.
Yes.
In about 3,980-ish.
Yep.
There you go.
The times are always a little bit wobbly. So, has his adventures.
Yeah, which is going to be like tiny little bit of time.
Yeah. Beneath the Planet of the Apes happens about here.
Yep.
So the Earth explodes.
Yep. End of the Earth.
Yes.
A small green planet dies.
End of the world.
Yes.
Cornelius.
Cornelius and Zira.
Yep.
in
Actually,
the-
that's right, because don't they get in the space shuttle?
Somehow.
off screen.
Yep.
So we have an ape called Dr. Milo.
Yep.
Who somehow, I think it's in the expanded media, but somehow he restores the ship back
Yeah.
to function.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth explodes as they're leaving, which sends Cornelius and Zira back through the Hasslein curve.
It's been years since I've seen it, but I always assumed that it was kind of like an autopilot to take them back on the path that they
Yeah.
originally got
Yeah.
there.
So we're now kind of on to Escape from the Planet of the Apes, aren't
Yes,
we?
so we've
Third film.
we've blown up the Earth here.
Yep.
For the audio listeners, right at the end of the timeline.
Yeah.
Kind of
It's
looks like
launched.
it kind of looks like your just drawing kind of looks like a boob.
I was thinking a spider.
Okay, a spider. It's the
Hasslein curve.
Yeah.
Hasslein curve. Okay.
Can't spell it.
Anyway,
So
so they've arrived back in time.
yeah, so we
Yes.
now have Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which is quite an iconic opening scene where
Yeah.
you have the astronauts
Actually,
taking
take
their
their helmets
helmets
off when it's
Yeah.
the
and
two
it's,
apes.
and it's apes. It's a complete kind of inverse of the original film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In that time, throughout the events of Escape from the Planet of the Apes, we won't go into too much detail. Milo gets killed. Zira and Cornelius have a child
Mhm.
who they call Milo, just to
Yeah.
make things even more confusing.
Yeah. Does it get adopted into a circus?
They swap out the babies
Yep.
because Armando swaps out and looks after the chimp,
Mm,
Yeah.
the intelligent chimp,
yeah.
who he names Caesar.
Yeah. And he's the Armando's the chap who runs the circus. isn't
He's also the guy
Yes.
from Star Trek 3, the Wrath of Khan. Sorry.
Right, okay.
There you go.
So this is where, I mean, I guess you just have to kind of use your
Brain.
fan kind of theory brain.
Fan theory.
The birth of Caesar, it basically creates a new
Timeline.
branch.
Okay.
Okay, so Caesar's born.
Is there a branch timeline now?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Caesar's born starts the whole ape revolution.
Mhm.
Because is it the film after that when they're using them like pets?
Yeah, so we're now into Conquest of the Planet of the
That's
Apes.
it.
So it's explicitly explained
So-
in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes that dogs and cats were wiped out by an astronaut that brought back some sort of virus.
Right.
It's never actually implied who the astronaut was that brought it back.
Could have been the apes.
It could have been the apes, but the timelines don't add up
Okay.
because they say that the dogs and the cats were killed in 1983, whereas Zira and Cornelius landed in 1973.
Okay.
So it would have been a decade later, which I guess could, but he does say that they were wiped out
Charlton
within.
Heston's born later. Carry on.
They do say that they were wiped out within the space of a month. So
Okay. Okay.
That was quite fast.
doesn't quite
So,
add
so
up.
now they have apes as pets to replace the cats and dogs
Yeah, so humans turn to apes
as pets.
as pets. That kind of becomes out of hand because they realise that they are capable of much more than just
Yeah,
being pets.
but at this point they are actors playing apes, aren't they?
Yes.
They're not just like chimpanzees on leash.
No, no.
They are
No.
actually. So the apes have already gotten bigger than a normal.
And they're wearing clothes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
wearing
they're
boiler
wearing,
suits.
like,
Boiler suit, aren't they?
Yeah, jumpsuits, boiler
Yeah.
suits, prison
Yeah.
orange.
Garb.
Yeah,
Kind
and
of
they're getting
yeah.
experimented on, which kind of
sparks
sparks
revolution.
Caesar's idea to take over.
Mhm.
So we're now into this timeline. So this is where we get to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So
I've got to say at this point, of all the Planet of the Apes films, I wasn't particularly looking forward to Conquest.
Okay.
But the first time I saw it, I
You-
thought it was amazing. It was like my preferred of the lot, other than the original.
and there's actually 2 cuts, which is cool.
That is interesting. I need to track that
We'll
down.
have to track that down and watch that.
Yeah. One of
Okay.
them's a lot more violent than the other.
So let's move on from there.
So we're into this is Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. We're into this new timeline now. So we get to not too far. We're definitely not this far along.
Yeah.
But we get to Battle of the Planet of the Apes.
Right. This is kind of post-apocalyptic, isn't it?
Yes.
I remember.
I think it's here roughly,
Mm.
but it could be.
Yeah, it's set
it's-
before the original one, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But on this new timeline.
Yes.
So we have humans that can talk, don't we?
Yeah. So there's still bands of humans left.
And aren't they living in the wreckage of the cities?
Yes.
That's right.
There is interestingly a deleted scene in Battle for the Planet of the Apes,
The Battle for the Planet of the Apes, yeah.
where we actually do see the Alpha Omega bomb again,
Right.
which isn't in the theatrical.
Oh.
Okay.
Um, Yes. So this
Yep.
is, I mean, for the audio listeners, I apologise. I'm trying to.
Yep.
It looks like a hat now. Your little description.
Yep.
So that's kind of the original series of films.
Yeah.
We never quite get past this point in
No.
the series.
No.
It sort of just ends. We see a glimpse of the future, possibly in this area here, where an orangutan is teaching humans and apes to live together as one.
Right. Okay.
And where do we see that?
What do you mean?
Where do we see that?
Where
scene?
did we see that scene?
At the end of Battle of the Planet.
Right.
Apes.
Okay.
So that's the very last scene we see.
Right.
That could be very much here-ish. We don't know how far
Okay.
into the future that is.
Okay.
Then we have a tear from the statue of the lawgiver.
Okay.
Oh, Caesar, I think.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Somehow.
I think I recall that scene.
Fun fact. You can actually get a I think it's a Funko reaction figure of the lawgiver statue.
Cool.
Okay, so that's our timeline.
Yeah, that's timeline. We might come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
because-
Keep it handy.
Yeah, things get a bit juicy.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Is
I'm
that-
interested to see what you're going to bring
But
up.
that's
next.
the complete original movies.
That's
Yes.
the series of the 5 films. So
Yeah.
we've covered that.
However.
However, so one of the things I find interesting about the Planet of the Apes series is specifically that is the timeline.
Mm.
So I remember seeing the original series of films and thinking that doesn't quite add up, but I want to know
Because kind
what
of
adds up.
you could start with the third one and kind of like ignoring everything else. Like start with the third one, watch the fourth one, watch the fifth one, then it's the first one, then the second one is kind of like your big finale, and then it's back to the third one. It's like a continuous loop almost.
Not with
ish.
the branching timelines, though.
Not with the branching timelines. Okay.
Now, obviously, this particular episode is also about you being a super fan.
Yeah.
So at this point, I've got to ask you, what got you into Planet of the Apes? Because you obviously are now
We've
pretty
reached the
much-
half-time point. I've still got a lot of stuff in the box. Do you want me to go through this?
Well,
Do
you're
it.
obviously very clued up on Planet of the Apes. So I kind of what
Let me
was
get all
it?
this. Let me get
Okay,
all this.
okay.
done.
Let him get it out.
Yeah,
on
let
the
him
bus.
roll.
let him.
I know.
him.
I was
Let
briefed.
loose.
He's going to whip it out and show us.
It's going to release.
Okay.
I was briefed before the episode that we wanted to keep this under an hour, and I'm really conscious of time.
No, don't worry.
no,
don't worry.
don't worry.
Just go.
It's-
Okay,
I'm
it's
really,
fine.
really enjoying it.
Absolutely
it's
fine.
good fun.
So something
We're
I
all
picked
learning
up
stuff.
a little while ago, actually. It was a book that I thought would answer all of these questions,
Yep.
and it certainly does.
Right.
Ooh.
It's called Timeline of the Planet.
Oh,
Apes.
Oh yes.
And this is a big chunky
Big
book.
chunky book.
Now that is a much
Um,
more impressive front cover.
Yeah, it's really
It's
cool.
like is he playing chess or something?
With the Alpha Omega bomb.
Yeah,
So this is by a chap called Rich Handley. And basically what Rich Handley does, he specifies at the beginning of the book as well. He's not trying to make any sense of the timeline, but he's
okay.
basically trying to put all of the events that happen in
To some kind of chronological order.
the best chronological order as he can.
Okay.
So
I
it
think
takes-
he sounds like a bit of a super fan.
We
as
should
well.
get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you listen to this podcast, please get in contact. We would love to get you on.
So actually, through reading this, I actually found out something really interesting, which we'll get to later. So this covers animated series, book and record sets, comic books, trading cards, e-comics, theatrical films, storybooks, magazine articles, novels, promotional newspapers, recorded audio fiction,
Gosh, he's gone way beyond just
Yeah.
movies.
short stories, television series, unfilmed scripts and stories,
Oh my goodness.
video games, and Blu-ray exclusives.
So I was going to ask you about the TV series because obviously we had the 19.
We'll get to,
The 19. So we're going to get
we'll
everything.
get to it. We'll get to everything. We'll cover all the bases.
Because we're getting,
So I really love this book because
Okay.
I've poured over this like several times after watching
you
some of
poured
the
over
films.
it with your ape-like paws.
After watching some of the films, I'm going, oh, that's an interesting line, or even, which we'll get to, reading the books, interesting kind of story developments and characters, and I'm like, where do they kind of fit in to the
Yep.
whole narrative? And
Wow.
Okay, so you've basically now got a nailed down timeline.
yes, I will note I think this came out in like 2008.
Okay.
So this doesn't include any of the new
Movies.
Movies.
Matt Reeves stuff.
Okay, well I would have thought the new movies aren't they kind of like a new reboot?
Yeah, exactly. So
It's
it
kind of
doesn't
like its
really.
own timeline.
You could-
with obviously the live action one in like standing out on its own. With Matt
So the
Damon.
2001 is included in here, and Rich Handley does a interesting job of trying to fit the
The Matt
2001
Damon
into the Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, it's Mark Wahlberg. He always tries big stuff, doesn't he?
Every time.
Every
Tries
time.
to,
Poor old Mark Wahlberg.
Tries to.
I'm Matt Damon.
So I highly recommend this. If you're a Planet of the Apes fan.
Is a timeline of the Planet of the Apes official? Is that like
This is unauthorized.
okay?
Which in a way is good because it means he can.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, he's got freedom of including all the games and things that are licensed to other things.
That's quite funny.
Okay, so there's that. So
Yes,
crack on.
One of my
crack on.
favourite pieces of Planet of the Apes stuff.
Merch,
'cause,
yeah.
Merch.
it's really cool.
Okay.
Same guy also released. I'll go through this very quickly.
I'm
From Oldo to Zero, Lexicon of the Planet of the Apes.
Lexicon of the
And this is
Planet of the
basically a giant thesaurus of every single character that's ever appeared in
Oh
like,
my
this franchise.
goodness!
See,
that is a thick book.
This, I was still going back to that question I asked you a little while ago. You've obviously grabbed all this merch.
I've had this for a while.
Yeah, but there's something must have taken hold of you, sparked your interest in Planet of the Apes.
There's Dr. Milo
Must
getting
have
killed by the gorilla.
No, it must, oh bless. It must. Yeah, this must have sparked something within you to then go. I love this so much. I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get this.
I think
So. What was it that?
we'll
you
take
know,
a half-time break.
Did you get into Planet of the Apes when you were a kid? Was it so?
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
me watching the Planet of the Apes as a kid, it must have just.
So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but would that be the original Planet of the Apes or?
So
Right.
I have the Tim Burton film came out in 2001, so I would have been about 2.
Okay, so which was the first one you?
So I have very, very vague memories of seeing the 2001 Tim
Right.
Burton film, and I've got the actual DVD, the original DVD that I had when I was a kid, and I have really vague memories of it, and I remember the chimp at the beginning in the spaceship and it being a bit scary for a kid.
Oh bless.
And it wasn't till probably I was probably about 7 or 8 that I caught the original Planet of the Apes on TV.
Right.
So the 1968
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes. I mean I was a kid, so I probably didn't even think about it being the original
Connected
Yeah.
remake.
Thing, yeah.
And it wasn't until later that I obviously rewatched the 2001. I then caught Beneath the Planet of the Apes on TV, perhaps a couple of years later. And I
Lucky
was
you.
Always.
Yeah, they used to put them on the TV all the time.
It was 100% on TV because I don't own it in any other capacity.
I never caught them. The only one I'd seen for so long was the Tim Burton one.
Yeah.
It took me forever to actually get round to seeing the original.
Okay. So
And I remember the ending being like, what is going on here? Like, why are there like mutant people now?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got Beneath the Planet of the Apes t-shirt on, so.
but by this time you must have been.
And I think it was that ending that I was like, what is going on here?
Okay.
And again, I caught Escape from the Planet of the Apes on TV, so I saw the. This was probably a few years later, seeing the spacemen take the helmets off and then being apes, and not putting any of this stuff together, but knowing it was all
having
part
no
of the same.
timeline of that.
Yeah. So if I'd have had this book,
Yeah.
I'd have been like, okay, that makes sense. It still doesn't make sense, but
That's a good bit of.
That's a good explanation for the Planet of the Apes timeline.
it's even stated in the book. It's like there are so many inconsistencies and things, but as
Maybe
fans-
the inconsistency is the only consistency.
as fans of science fiction and film franchises and things, even if these things aren't even thought of when the films are being made, fans will always try and find the things that connect or make leaps to try and connect certain things.
Kind of like
together.
an endless loop of trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I've even until recently, very recently, I joined like a Planet of the Apes Facebook page just to see. I'm not involved with it. I'm just seeing what the
what the general chit chat.
It was after the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought, I wonder what the sort of reaction is like to this. It's a interesting fan base.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna guess it. I'm gonna guess it's probably a bit like the Tolkien fan base and the Doctor Who fan base.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
You get a lot of toxic fans in there that seem to believe that their precious stuff is being basically shat on.
Yeah.
Using that.
Whoa!
No, but that's what it is. I'll be polite compared to what
Posh
some
ones,
people put on social
Yeah,
media.
okay.
But yes,
We've got a prop now.
I'm always one of those fans that I'm more.
Looks awesome.
I'm more than happy to have more of something that I like. But the thing is, they can never take away the stuff that you really like. So if you don't like something new, it doesn't matter, does it?
See, now everyone's always going to have an opinion on something, and as soon as you say something that's different to their opinion, you're always going to have some kind of contention there, and there's always going to be like an argument or something. The capacity to understand that everyone has their opinion, everyone's always going to have their own personal view on something.
This is true, but I think there's a difference between whether you're sitting there at a pub table having a chat about a movie and saying the things you don't like about the movie, and other people might say, well, actually, I like that about the movie. But what you're not doing is you're not having a go at the individual person you're talking to. But what happens on social media is people inevitably have a go at other people, saying, how on earth can you like this? You are absolutely brain dead, blah, blah, blah. And so they're not saying, okay, you might not like that movie, I do, or that show, but I do, and that's fine, you're allowed your opinion. They actually have a vindictive go at other fans.
Yeah.
That's one of the things.
That's the difference.
One of the things I mean, Planet of the Apes now, I don't think is as like popular as things like Doctor Who or Star Wars or things like that. It's generally, we said at the beginning of the episode, it's generally a little bit of a smallerish family. It's more of like an obscure franchise.
Now, I'm going to bring it right up to the date now. I'm going to jump. We can go back into your box of goodies, but
there's plenty.
Since that you bring that up, and we've just had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes out, I wasn't necessarily that impressed with the first two CGI movies. They were okay.
What about the third one?
The third one.
It's 4.
It's the fourth. All right, so 4. Right, this is.
I've also got a quiz, by the way. So we've got.
This is the fourth one, right?
No worries.
So this is the fourth one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, it's the
And and I absolutely thought it was an absolute crazily masterful story. I loved the story. The CGI was like par excellence. Yeah, there was a couple of holes in the plot, but I loved it.
No more than the rest of the franchise,
But I thought if you're coming in at this point with a new Planet of the Apes, and I think I've heard that they want to do 9 of these movies.
9, yeah. I think this one.
And bold.
I think this movie should generate enough interest to say, yeah, I want to go and see more of this.
I want to see the next one.
I think it has domestically done quite well.
Yeah, what did you think of it, Jack?
I want to get to it.
Let him get to it.
All right,
I've got a lot more stuff to go. I need to get my timeline back out.
All right. Crack on.
Crack on.
Right, so in the late 70s, I believe, we had the Planet of the Apes TV series.
Ooh, I wonder when we were going to bring this up.
I did see a couple of bits, but it's very basic, because I mentioned a name to you at the beginning of this when we came in the studio.
So
and I'd got it wrong because I said the name associated to the movie, and you said no, that's the TV series.
Yes.
So therefore, I must have the memory in my past of seeing some of the TV series.
So in the TV series, we have Alan Verdon and Peter Burke and a third astronaut called Jonesy. They crash into
nice bit of
in the same ship, sort of. It's the same model, but it's a different ship. This one's called Probe 6.
Okay.
Is it Probe 6? I think it's called Probe 6.
Is this taking into account Beneath the Planet of the Apes or not? Or is this...
So
come on,
we're getting the pen back out.
He's back to his timeline.
So if we're going by the dates that are given in the TV series, Verdon and Burke left in 1980.
Okay.
So they would have left after George Taylor.
Do they reference the original missions? They don't.
It gets a bit... This is the reason why books like The Timeline of the Planet of the Apes exist, because questions like this never quite get answered. So they leave in 1980. They go up through the Hasslein curve. They're studying Alpha Centauri or something.
Right. The nearest star to us.
Yeah. But they come out of the Hasslein curve and land like here.
Ooh.
On the timeline.
So that's a lot sooner.
In about, I think it says on here, 3085.
Okay.
Oh no, that's like...
So they're actually like 900 years
out.
Before
of course.
The destruction.
Oh my God.
Before they land, right?
But they left after him.
I love this.
Well, no, we covered this in the time travel episode, because time is relative to the speed that other things travel at. So it's quite feasible.
But
that you can leave after somebody else but arrive before them.
I could be here for literally hours because this is really fun.
Part 2 coming soon.
One of the first creatures, literally the first creature we see in the Planet of the Apes TV series, is a dog.
Yep.
So they can't be on this timeline because the dogs have all been wiped out.
Right.
So it's implied that they're still in the original timeline.
Yep.
I mean, that's as close as we get because there's dogs and cats. So
Okay.
Yeah, but
we implied that the cats didn't get wiped out in this timeline.
I'm going to be... Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like they bring out TV shows from films, like you watch Logan's Run, and then they bring out a TV series from Logan's Run. And the TV series are not always designed in the same fashion as for people that have seen the film.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've not quite got the same rights, or they've just decided to do a different screen play or rewrite it slightly for TV audiences. So I don't think I would have ever taken it as being anything more than just another interpretation, unless they'd mentioned the original astronauts in it to link it up.
So
it would have just, for me, it would have been a...
They mention... So the Dr. Zaius...
Yep.
Again,
Dr.
this is
Zaius,
why
Dr.
Dr.
Zaius.
Zaius. Dr. Zaius.
There's a Dr. Zaius in the TV show.
Just sing that
Obviously,
Tommy says it.
We should.
we've established that there is one in
One
900 years.
what?
900 years later.
Yeah, there's one what?
Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Dr.
Dr.
Zaius. Sorry.
So, again, that's another confusing thing as to why there's characters called... And there's a character called Galen in the original film who's
Yep.
a doctor. So, like you say, I think outside of the whole fandom brain,
Yep.
they're just different interpretations.
Yeah, different
But
interpretations.
crazy fans like me have tried to piece this all together,
Well, I mean,
which is the fun bit.
I like your diagram.
Yeah. So I didn't watch this until fairly recently, probably in the last couple of years. Really, really like this.
Really.
How many
Really,
episodes
like
are
this.
it?
There's 14.
That's okay.
Only 13 were broadcast. And there's
Okay.
an episode called The
So the
Liberator.
adult one as well. Then.
Is that
The one that wasn't broadcast.
there's an episode called The Liberator, which was never aired during the show's original run.
Okay.
I believe it's due to it being quite politically similar to the Vietnam War situation,
okay.
which was happening at a similar time.
But isn't there... Because that's interesting, because I remember seeing something called, the Forbidden City of the Planet of the Apes, or Liberty, Justice, and Retribution on the Planet of the Apes, or something. Is that some combination of these episodes as a TV movie?
So
Here we go.
I might have to go back into the box again.
I think
Okay.
I think you're definitely proving yourself as a super fan.
So, okay. There's 14 episodes. 13 were broadcast. There were several episodes that were combined. So they'd take 2 episodes, stitch them together, and create what's called a telefilm. So it'd be a film that would broadcast, I believe, NBC
Right.
in America. And these would be TV movies, but they're just made up of 2 episodes.
So that's something I caught here, just casually on the TV.
Yeah,
Thinking that they were a movie of
Exactly.
their own. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think I've tried. I don't think you can actually find them on physical media other than purchasing them as an individual series.
Right.
So what's interesting about these telefilms, and I actually learned this from the timeline of the Planet of the Apes.
Yep. He keeps flashing the book for those people that are listening.
I've got 30 seconds to finish this.
No,
okay, so,
keep going. Keep going.
So these telefilms
Yep.
there was additional footage filmed with Roddy McDowall as Galen.
Yeah, okay.
I'm moving my timeline back out.
Yay!
So basically, at the beginning of each telefilm, Galen would speak to the camera, and he would speak to an astronaut who had landed and wants to hear the tale of Verdon and Burke.
Right.
So at some point, we have more astronauts that have left
Earth.
But they haven't been...
from a POV perspective.
And they've landed.
At some point here, you don't know when, let's say a similar time,
Okay, and they've landed.
gone through the Hasslein curve, and they've ended some period after the TV show has ended.
Right.
At the end of the TV show, it's never established whether Verdon and Burke actually ever got home. Galen, in these telefilm additional scenes, explains that they did in fact get home.
Right.
So Verdon and Burke have at some point in this period of time gone back through the Hasslein curve and ended up back where they started.
Crikey, this is now looking like some kind of octopus.
Yeah, so
This
it's like a
timeline.
spider.
But this, again, we're using this as the main timeline, but it could be.
I've got to ask you, the Hasslein curve, is this based on science, or is this a name that's made up specifically for the movie?
So there's a character called Dr. Otto Hasslein, who we meet in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and it's kind of his theory.
Oh, right. Okay. So
But we also have in the animated series Return to the Planet of the Apes, we have a character called Stanton, who has a time thrust theory.
right.
And it's never really explained as to whose theory is
Okay.
the one
So
that's...
what we're talking about is we're talking about an author's basically made up.
Yeah, it's not a real
No.
as far as I'm aware, the Hasslein curve isn't. A real
It's
thing.
for the movies.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Now he's mentioned the animated series now. So
Oh,
yes.
I did not even know that there was an animated series.
So I don't actually own that, which is annoying.
You don't own it.
Oh, no.
Because it's
Jack.
only really, really difficult to get, and it's region 1.
The
we
spider.
know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 8 legs at the moment. If you stick in the animated
The
one,
spider
it's
of
going
the
to be
Planet of the Apes.
it's going to be a mutated spider.
It kind of looks like some kind of like jockey hat.
I know where you're coming from. It's one of those sort of like ink blob things. You got to look at it and decide what it
Yeah.
reminds you of.
But I'd say I genuinely think the TV show is one of my favourite parts
Okay.
of the whole franchise.
Mhm.
I really, really love it. Alan Verdon's probably one of my favourite characters. General Urko is the guerrilla general
Yeah.
whose whole character is basically just tracking down Verdon and Burke.
Brilliant.
Every episode is basically self-contained, so you only really need to see the first episode to establish the
How they got
situation
there,
that they're in, and then every episode they'll stumble across a farm with an ape in it who needs help with something, and there's an episode with sharks.
Oh gosh!
Ooh.
Do you know
Sharks.
you're bringing back a memory? Now you've watched the whole series.
Yes.
Was there one where the ape farmers, their crops were getting washed away, and so the astronauts showed them to furrow their lands around the hill so the water
yes.
catch.
That's
There
one of the
you
early
go.
episodes. Yes.
I remembered it.
I must say, I'm
that
feeling left out
flashback
now.
from the 70s. That
It's
did.
amazing. I saw it come back through.
Wow.
And their cow's dying because they think that the humans are the curse of the cow.
Right,
If
okay.
a human's present, then all your livestock will die and things.
I can see how that's
Gosh,
Genuinely-
yeah, that is bringing back
Genuinely,
memories.
really, really
I
cool stuff.
must have watched it then when I was a kid.
And
Wow.
if you want to technically add like the telefilms to the series of films,
When did that come out?
I believe it was 1970.
77, 78?
1974.
74. So right, okay. So
Okay.
that would have been John Pertwee's Doctor Who time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have. Yeah. But that's a memory to have. That is.
It's interesting on the back it says they crashed from 1981, but in the actual opening credits it says August 1980. So even the
Yeah.
box is
no.
confused.
Oh, I love that. I love
Okay,
that.
moving on. That you still got your box of
yeah.
merch there.
100%. If you haven't seen this series, track it down. There's some amazing like adventures.
Fantastic.
There's a episode called The Legacy
Okay.
where our heroes Verdon and Burke go underground and actually find a computer with a hologram message from a scientist from the past
Oh, blimey.
wearing one of the underdwellers things from beneath the Planet of the Apes. And he explains to them that they've in the whole fall of humanity, they've buried all of their scientific knowledge in various vaults around the world.
Right.
But the series never gets to the point where they go and look for them.
That kind of almost has a reflection on
The new one.
new movie.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If in an alternate timeline somewhere, there's another series 2 of this where Verdon and Burke go off on their adventures tracking down these vaults. I think that'd be really cool, but it never happened.
Now, speaking of tracking this down, can I borrow that?
It's really rare, so
No.
Ouch. He's not even going to let you
Oh,
breathe on it.
savage.
But he hasn't even passed it to you.
No,
He's
no.
not letting you touch it. Put it back in the box.
yes, it goes
Put it
safely
back in the
box.
Put it back in the box.
Okay. Talk amongst yourselves while I rattle around.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
what did you think of the new movie, Zach?
Sorry.
To be honest, okay.
I should mention after that we had Return to the Planet of the Apes,
Okay.
which is the animated series which ran, I believe, for 13 episodes, so quite similar to the TV series. The timeline comes back out.
The spider's back out.
We have Bill McDonald, and Judy, who are the animated characters. They have at some point left, I think, a similar sort of time.
Cry, how many astronauts are we sending
This is the thing, like there's so flipping many.
I'm going to refer to the book again.
Just by clutching it in your hands, it makes it all right.
Yeah.
So they go through the Hasslein curve
The good old
in a
Hasslein.
NASA spaceship instead of an Answer spaceship because they didn't have the rights to NASA in the original films.
Right.
So they're called Answer.
Answer.
But in the animated show, they're
Sounds
just,
like an
they're-
infection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
in the animated show, they're now NASA, which is
NASA.
fair enough.
It's a bit like saying NASA or SpaceX, I suppose.
So they come down out of the Hasslein curve.
Yep. Oh, and they've,
Oh, God.
Well, they've bombed into a completely different timeline.
Oh, no.
Somewhere,
It's turned into a sailing ship.
somewhere,
It's a boat now. It's a boat now.
somewhere in a different timeline where apes are how they are in the book, where they're like they have buildings and
Cars,
tanks and
oh right.
they have all the bells and whistles, cities and all.
So the Tim Burton one at the end, styly.
Yes,
But we haven't got to that bit yet.
Yeah.
we're close to that bit.
Okay.
So in the animated series, we have, again, it kind of follows the same thing of they crash on the planet. It follows a lot of the beats of the original film where they discover that they're on a planet that's run by apes and it's actually Earth. They find Nova, who is a recurring character in all of the films and TV shows and all sorts.
Pretty much everything, yeah.
Nova has dog tags.
Right.
In Beneath the Planet of the Apes, George Taylor gives her dog tags. I don't
Yeah.
think this is...
Oh, this is the non-speaking human.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily relevant, but I think they probably took inspiration from that scene.
Right.
They find Nova. She has dog tags. She has dog tags from an astronaut called Brent, who apparently left Earth in 2190 or something.
Okay.
So he's like over here somewhere.
He's over there somewhere, right?
And he's left.
He's going up the spinnaker.
He's gone into the Hasslein curve. He's come down somewhere like here.
Okay.
And he's basically been living with the human characters.
The dumb humans.
Yes, and he's fallen in love with... He's done the George Taylor thing. And the animated series is them trying to find Brent. What's confusing about that is the guy from Beneath the Planet of the Apes who left here and landed here to help George is also called Brent.
Okay. So
It's like Dracula movies and people called Paul.
It's thought that he is... Because he's like 100 years after they left, that he's left, but he has landed before them.
Okay.
Is some sort of relation to Brent from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So he's a descendant of some sort who also became an astronaut. The only issue with that is I don't think he's on this timeline.
Right.
Whoever this Brent is, and possibly even the Bill, Jeff, and Judy.
I don't think the scriptwriters probably even thought about it.
I don't think they came from that timeline.
This is a super fan talking.
Because
I love this.
He
This is
left in
amazing.
he left in like 2196 or something. The apes would have been well in charge by that point, and the humans would have been like gone.
You've been told, Buzz.
Yeah.
So how did he get all the stuff to go up? And yeah,
Well, there you go.
that's the animated series.
Okay.
It's also really good, but a little bit.
More childlike.
It's the scripts are really good, which we'll get to because I've got
Oh, right.
them. The actual animation style is very simple, and I think it was at the time where animation was they were trying to save money, so they
back in the 70s, they did an animated series of Star Trek as well.
yeah,
Is it that
it's
similar?
similar where it's like a still image, but the mouse will
quite-
move,
yeah.
and then it will like they'll
Yeah.
reuse like the cells.
Same cells.
So
again.
people were running away, and it will use like the same people.
Yeah. I get to
Yeah.
what you're saying.
So
Right.
What's in the box?
That's in the box.
that's it for the kind of original run of televised things
Planet of the Apes, yeah.
and films. Okay,
Tim Burton then.
not quite.
Not quite.
Oh,
We
quite.
have a couple of books that I got. I got this, which another thing that I absolutely love. It's called Tales from the Forbidden Zone,
Right.
and this is essentially I'm not sure how many actually there are. 16. So 16 short stories that are set in and around the world of Planet of the Apes. This literally confirms that it's a multiverse.
Right.
This book, because there's I can't remember what it's called now. One of the stories in it is called The Unknown Ape. There we go.
The Unknown Ape.
The Unknown Ape. So I'll just read the synopsis for this.
okay.
General Urko of the Saturday morning animated series Return of the Planet of the Apes steps forward in Drew Gasker's The Unknown Ape, opening a Pandora's box of multiple universes and dire portent for the inhabitants. So this features literally Urko finding the Alpha Omega bomb, or their animated version of it, which is implied that it's still a thing in the reanimated series.
Yep.
Return to Planet of the Apes. Drink every time I say Planet of the Apes in this podcast.
I think we would be drunk by now.
Yes.
So we have
The new drinking game.
so
Dr.
the
Seuss.
in this one story,
Yep.
basically he's about to launch the bomb.
Okay.
Or no, he's kind of like trying to harness its power.
Okay.
The bomb.
Mhm.
Who burst through the door? But Alan Verdon, Burke from the TV series, Caesar.
Oh, right, Caesar.
Bloody everyone turns up.
Which
Everyone says
And
Caesar?
they're called the Travellers.
All right.
So they're like a band of like multiverse hopping characters from the Planet of the Apes series. Genuinely, this is like the coolest book I've ever read.
Oh wow.
Which, yeah, even at the end, I think they explain.
Sounds like an episode from Red Dwarf.
I was thinking it's like something we'd see on Disney now, based on Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah, so he explains the whole lanes on a motorway thing, which is explained in a couple of the films.
Okay.
While there were indeed an infinite number of timelines, they had moved forward within their own, hadn't they? If then Caesar had altered destiny, should they still exist?
Right.
It's got Virgil from Battle of the Planet of the Apes in it, McDonald from the TV series, Pete from the TV series, Galen, and even Jonesy's
Jonesy's in it.
Jonesy.
somehow, even though he died.
Oh, well, there you go. We've got another one to read.
We also have in Tales of the Forbidden Zone, which again, to any Planet of the Apes fans that want to get into the kind of expanded media, 100% pick this up. It's from Titan Books.
Yeah, we're back to the whiteboard.
We're back to the whiteboard. Where's my pen gone?
Yeah, I think it's put
It's
it
gone
down
from
by
like
your left leg.
It's gone from like a spider to a hat to an octopus to
I'm
a
going to
boat.
try and get through the rest of
Sailing
this
ship
really quick.
now.
We'll try and get through the rest of this really quick. Okay.
I don't believe you, Jack. Okay.
There's a short story in Tales of the Forbidden Zone called The Pacing Place.
Okay.
The Pacing Place tells an alternate version of the end of the original film.
So the Earth doesn't blow up.
So the Earth doesn't blow up. So George Taylor, at some point here, actually continues, and there's no
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Becomes a rudder.
Yeah. Actually, quite a cool short story about him sort of starting up a new human civilization and teaching them that people should be nice to each other.
Nice. Wow.
No, that's just fantasy. Sorry.
That's total fantasy. You've lost us now.
Never gonna
Jack.
happen.
Human beings being nice to each
A
other.
step too far. There's also a short story in here where a young Cornelius encounters a tribe of baboons,
Okay.
because we haven't actually figured out where the baboons went. That's the thing. You realise there's no
Do now.
Budgetary constraints. Budgetary constraints.
there's no baboons, orangutans and gorillas and chimps, but no baboons.
No baboons. No, well, actually, to mention the baboons, would you? I'm not quite sure on my apes, but are gibbons apes? Or
I think
monkeys?
gibbons are at some point.
What about
explained.
what's the vicious ones? The ones with the big teeth and the long noses. They've got the blue and red bums.
Baboons.
Baboons. Are they apes or are they monkeys?
Oh, they're in this.
They're apes.
It's interesting. One of the some of the original.
I'm not David Attenborough.
Some of the original comic book stories depict our heroes of whoever the comics are encountering the North Apes, which are basically
Right.
Viking apes.
Yes.
Yes,
Which
we
is
want
quite cool.
Viking.
That's what we
Viking
need.
Apes. That's what we need.
That's one thing I think about the series.
Apes with hammers and axes.
That's one thing I'd like talking about the films, which I know we'll get to because you want to ask that question.
I do. I've got loads of questions here.
it
I
would
haven't
be-
asked one. I've only asked one.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to see more of like what else is happening in the world other than America, because it's
Okay.
very America centric. Tales from the Forbidden Zone, 100% pick this up. It's brilliant.
Well, I know it's kind of America-centric in a sense because obviously the spaceship originally lands back in America, so the whole idea of the astronauts, it kind of can only... You can't have them zipping across the sea because they haven't got any ships or anything. So it's kind of based, it's kind of based in the movies and things around where the astronauts have landed, which happens to be the States. Unless apart from the Tim Burton one, because it doesn't really say anything about the States in that, does it?
Well, they're on a different planet.
Yeah, they're just the planet of.
Yeah, there's not even Earth.
No.
Okay.
But I know what you mean. But obviously, in the latest one,
We haven't had we had the astronauts leave, but that was very
and
briefly.
we had a
Yeah, we'll get
brief mention of them getting into the atmosphere of Mars or something.
Tales of the Forbidden Zone is made up of short stories, so this is an easy read. If you want to flick through it, you can read like a story a day or whatever.
Who would
Tales
have
of the
thought the
Forbidden Zone.
franchise of Planet of the Apes would be quite so big? Wow.
So,
It is bigger than I had ever thought it would be.
yeah,
all the stuff I've gone through down here.
he's back in his box, listeners.
So we then, I don't know what I don't know what to get to next. We'll go
Just-
for another book,
Another book.
Death of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh
This is
no!
fairly a fairly recent one. This basically explains what happened to George during the events of Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Because he disappears until the end
Before
of the film.
planet blows
So
up.
Okay.
this book essentially
So
explains...
George is Taylor.
Yes, George Taylor.
Okay.
Charlton Heston.
That guy.
Yeah, sorry. Charlton Heston disappears. This explains everything.
Okay.
I also believe it touches on how Milo rescued the ship to get back.
To get back, because that was underwater, wasn't it?
There's also one called Conspiracy of the Planet of the Apes, which I haven't read, but I think takes place before this.
Okay. Right, moving on.
Okay, we have these,
He's in the box. He's in the box.
which leads us quite nicely into...
Wow.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
Which leads us quite nicely into the Tim Burton one.
Okay.
These are, again, from Titan Books. These are essentially novelizations of the films. So Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, and then the Tim Burton one.
Okay.
These are novelizations in little, nice, compact,
Okay.
tiny books.
Tiny books.
Little thick books.
Thick-
I've only got volume 2, 3, and 4 because
Okay.
the first one is blooming hard to get hold of for some reason. I don't know if it's out of print, but that one contains the first 3 films.
Okay.
Really good. There are slight sort of Easter eggs and changes and things that never made it into the films, which are all explained in Timeline of the Planet of the Apes, which some things are just mentioned, or dates and things which help place things together.
Does that mean somebody could, if they got the rights to write a book about Planet of the Apes, and they go back and write some completely different timeline, that would screw up this time? They'd have to rewrite his timeline.
I mean, when I read that, when
Just
I
to be
read,
annoying.
I mean, this is out of date anyway.
Exactly.
yeah, when I read
It's
that,
an out of date timeline of Planet of the Apes.
but it's a nice like
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
because it includes enough that you
Yeah, enough.
Yeah. Volume 3. This is where things get a little bit sketchy because, as I mentioned, the TV episodes were combined into telefilms.
Yeah.
These are TV episodes
Silly.
that are combined into books, but they're different episodes that have been combined.
Okay.
My head hurts now.
So there's 4 stories in here. They're all made up of stories from the TV series. One of you will be asleep by the end of this.
No.
No, well, I'm
It's so
absolutely-
interesting.
I'm absolutely fascinated.
I am
Yeah, for somebody who
enamoured
who
by
started
this.
watching this back in 1974,
Yeah.
and here we are in 2024.
He's taking the persona of like Dr. Zaius when he's describing it in the TV series. What's happening?
We're 50 years down the line.
What?
Well, like you were describing in the TV film versions of the
Yeah.
episodes from the series, that there was bits with was it Galen?
Galen.
Galen. He's Galen.
Right.
Yeah, I nearly got you out there. So,
That's a nickname, is it?
so for
Galen.
example, we've got Journey into Terror, which is made up of the episode The Legacy, which I mentioned earlier, and an episode called The Horse Race.
Okay.
Whereas the telefilms are made up of The Legacy. And
I love the
something
way
else.
they managed to teach apes to ride horses, by the way.
Yeah.
It's called acting.
Okay, that's volume 3.
But they just acted as if they could.
Yeah, they just acted like they could ride horses.
That's volume 3. The same applies for volume 4, which
It's
is
a Marvel
slightly thinner. This is made
Slightly.
up. This is made up of the stories from the animated Return to the Planet of the
Okay.
Apes.
Okay.
So if you watch the animated series and you want to know a bit more,
Read the book.
read the books because they have bits and
Yes.
stuff.
You must
It's
have.
like watching TV but in slow motion.
You really are a super fan of
You're like
Planet of the
Rucker from the new film, collecting all the books,
Yes,
all the history.
Apes. Yeah, it's Rucker.
Yay,
All right, so
we're
we've got the
there.
Tim Burton one.
An hour later, Tim Burton made the reimagining. He called it his reimagining. It wasn't a remake. It wasn't a reboot. It was a reimagining.
Yeah, no, and I did watch it as a reimagining, and to be honest, I liked it. I think it got pants by a lot of people, but I
mean,
I thought it was nice.
This was obviously the last example where they used ape masks, and in this, I thought they did an absolutely amazing job
The makeup
with
artist.
the makeup and the suits and the costume design and everything like that.
that is the highlight of this film. I mean, story wise, it's a bit pants. I don't really understand why they're like hundreds of years into the future. I mean, they're 2029, which isn't that far away.
Oh no!
They're in 2029, but it's a very advanced 2029.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still sending chimps instead of like robots. I don't really understand what the
Because
they have,
they
like,
needed to.
they have like the ability to send these robots into the I don't know if they ever call it their version of the Hasslein curve.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so
But they
it seemed
send a
like
chimp.
lots of different time bubbles.
Because isn't the
So-
chimp that
so I'll explain. on
Mark Wahlberg has is Caesar? Is that
the,
right?
It's never never explicitly explained. But
Okay.
I guess that could be a possibility.
Because at the end of the film, they think that the chimp that arrives in the spaceship is their
It's
like
kind
their
of like their god.
their prophesized god, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So I guess you could mould it into that, but so I'll illustrate what the Tim Burton
Oh,
timeline
Tim
is.
Burton's. It's a shark underneath.
Is that one?
Oh,
It's
okay.
its own thing.
Its own
So
thing.
that book tries to, in some way, piece it together, but
Does it explain in the book that it's its own thing? Is that how it describes
there's
it?
always if you read the beginning of that timeline of the Planet of the Apes, he explicitly states that these things are like they don't work. They're just how he puts them into chronological order. And a lot of them, if you flick it open, a lot of them will have like little asterisks with notes on. So at the bottom it will say note, and it will say this bit doesn't quite work, but this is where we put it. And
Okay.
absolutely fascinating.
Okay. So if
For anyone that likes Planet.
So if we've got
If not-
the Tim Burton movie stand out by itself,
Mhm.
Yeah.
then of course we hit the CGI movies.
Yeah,
don't
last thing about this one, Tim Roth is really cool as Thade.
Mm.
Do you know who plays Thade's dad?
we? Oh, it's
Also called Zeus.
Dr. Zeus.
Dr. Zeus. Dr. Zeus.
It's been a long time since I've seen the movie, so
Have a guess.
You got Helen Bonham Carter. You got the chap.
Charlton Heston.
Yes.
That's it. It was him. Yes, that was. You've mentioned it. That was one of the.
I know something.
That was one of the highlights of me watching that because it was Charlton Heston.
It's probably the best
Wow.
scene.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then he says, damn you all to hell is like his last line, which is quite funny. So yeah, Tim Roth is really cool. I think Mark Wahlberg was miscast. I don't think he really evokes like intelligent scientist astronaut man.
Intelligence. Ouch.
Oh.
Ouch.
It's true though, he's very wooden. Yeah, it's a bit of a... It's an interesting
I liked
take.
it as a kid.
Like you-
Okay,
like you
I
said,
enjoyed it.
Like you
It's
said,
a good Sunday afternoon movie.
like you said about the whole fans not liking certain parts of
Yeah.
Mhm.
the franchise. I kind of just see it as another version of...
Yeah.
But that's what you've got to enjoy something for what it is.
Mhm.
And it is actually a lot more accurate to the original book by Pierre Boulle than the original Planet
No,
of the
that's what we were saying earlier, especially with that ending, like having it like in a modern
Apes. Yeah.
kind of
I don't want to spoil the book, but it is
setting.
quite similar.
Yeah.
One of the best sequences of this actually is he crashes his ship on what looks like Dagobah. They're kidnapped by the gorilla soldiers
Mhm.
and then taken back through like their version of Ape City. That's probably the best sequence because you actually see like the day to day of like the apes.
Yeah.
And I love the aesthetic. I actually really like the aesthetic of this one. But it's just
I want to watch it again now.
Yeah. Okay.
After that, I
So
want to watch it again.
we've hit the point now where we get into what a lot of people might even be their first dip in the
Yeah.
water with Planet of the Apes,
So
with the animated series.
this
The CGI series is what I mean.
The new ones.
The new one.
Get my timeline back out. It's quite a miracle that this didn't actually like just kill off the whole franchise because I don't think it did. It might have done well.
Yeah, I think
I don't
it's
think it did very well
Tim
critically,
Burton
but-
movies are an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And a lot of his stuff, I know what he tries to do, but I'm not a great fan of Tim Burton movies.
Mm. Michael Clark Duncan. Sorry, that's the name of the Carol.
And that one.
This guy.
Yeah.
There you go. For the Green Mile and
Yeah.
stuff. So,
He's Kingpin in Daredevil.
Daredevil.
Oh, dear. He's
I thought it's a good, even now if it came on a Sunday afternoon and I got nothing, I'd switch the TV on. I might just sit down and just carry on watching.
Yeah, and I genuinely think like the makeup, the production design is the highlight of the film.
yeah.
And
It looks good.
it is a little bit of a shame in a way that I don't think we'll ever get a Planet of the Apes like this again because it will all be obviously the motion capture stuff now.
Okay, well I'm gonna have to get some questions in because this is the thing.
Okay, we're on to the
the
We're
new
on to
ones.
the CGI ones.
That's your
So
backstory.
we've got Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
He's got the three of them.
Three,
and
we
then
got
there's
the poster
the posters behind me.
There you go. There's the poster for the new movie.
There you go.
Exclusive collector's poster. There you go.
With Proxima Caesar,
Yeah.
the guy who pretends to be Caesar.
Caesar.
So
Spoilers.
In 2011, we had Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Not actually originally intended to be a Planet of the Apes film. It was supposed to be
Wow.
just a film about like awareness of having apes as pets.
Right. Okay.
They kind of just they were like, oh, this would make a really good prequel to Planet of the
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we even start with that one because that's the one where he releases the containers of the chemical in the cages with the other apes. At this point, the chimpanzees, as are, even though they're CGI, are still almost human size. Yeah, they're not.
They're much more realistically anatomically chimps.
Then but they're not standard chimpanzee size. They're already big. Yeah, and one kind of one of these things that I have a problem with the CGI. I've got to say the CGI in the latest movie, absolutely fantastic. You know, the scene where he gets beaten up on the shelf or the cliff, and he's got bubbles of spit coming out of his mouth. It's beautiful. You know, it just looks so good. But what I've got to say is, I just think that the trouble with the animation on all these CGI movies, and I know it's just Zach's going to pull me up on this one, but with the original Planet of the Apes movies, they had clothes on, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here he goes.
Okay, but in the new ones, they mostly don't.
Just hide behind the TV series.
Yeah, but they mostly don't. Okay, apart from in the new one where you've got the king, Proxima, he's got a loincloth on. But the rest of the apes have got no genitalia or anything.
You have to say genitalia, didn't you?
Well, my point is,
You could just say appendages.
My point is, if you're gonna
Genitalia doesn't fit on the timeline anyway. I was just going to point that out.
no, but my point is, all these CGI apes
Brings a new meaning to the Hasslein curve.
but that's that they haven't got any. They're all naked basically, but they haven't got anything.
Okay, yeah,
And all
that's
they-
fine.
That's your problem with
But
Planet of the
if
Apes.
they're going to CGI, if they're going to CGI it,
You're
why
taking
don't
up time talking about the apes.
if they're going to CGI, let me give a word. If they're going to CGI, why didn't they just put loincloths on them?
So you may as well ask, why don't they CGI King Kong's nuts or something? Like, they don't, because they can't.
Yep.
Kong of the Planet of the Apes.
What?
Carry on.
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Oh my god, I need that.
Oh man!
Is it a book?
So we're going to get to.
I
We're
just
going
think-
to go away from the ape penises. Okay.
Well, it's not just the penises; it's they should have big pink bums as well.
Whoa!
One of the
What's wrong with the pink bum?
One of the sort of sub aspects of the Planet of the Apes franchise that I'm not as familiar with is the comics, because I know there are quite a lot. There's like the classic adventures of Planet of the Apes. There's ones that date back way in the day. Back in the day, there's a line of comics that are explained in the timeline of the Planet of the Apes that were only ever released in like Argentina, and they're Spanish.
Of course, though.
So
course it
there's
would
the
be.
whole thing
You're gonna have
about that.
you're gonna have to learn Spanish.
The only comic I actually own, the Planet of the Apes, is called Fall of Man, and I got
Okay.
this because it kind of explains. Yeah, I don't know what timeline this is in. To be
Call it
honest.
comic. It looks more like a graphic novel.
Yeah, I guess it's made up of 5 issues.
Right. Okay. 'Cause it's,
Yeah, it's a graphic novel made up of comics.
It looks quite
Okay.
sort
They're
of
put together.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty.
But there are some. I mean, again, I don't know enough about the comics to go into too much
What's that one
detail.
called?
Fall of Man.
Fall of Man.
This is issue 1 to 5,
Okay.
and it's quite recent as well. It's 2023, so it's only come out last year.
And
I
you're
thought
saying
I'd
there's
do that because-
that you're saying there's a King Kong one.
Yeah, so we've got. I think there's. I mean, with comics, you get into like there's all sorts of crossovers and things.
Oh yeah.
We've got Tarzan on the Planet of the Apes.
What?
Well, you get Tarzan fighting predators. And
At Earth's core.
Well, yeah, I
yes,
think-
I've got that. That's over there
I
somewhere.
think Tarzan, or the franchise Tarzan, and Planet of the Apes, I think their history is kind of a little bit intertwined. There's sort of like similar.
There are similar
Because
traits.
I think in the original Tarzan books, aren't the apes like a little bit more intelligent?
Yeah, I mean,
they can speak and things?
It's been
Where
a
does that
long
fit into
time.
the timeline?
It's been a long time since.
I think we're going to need a new board.
It was my father who read Tarzan to me when I was a little kid, and I do have memories of how the apes. Yeah, they probably had conversations between the apes, and bringing up Tarzan.
And we also have, I know you'll like this one, Kong on the Planet of the Apes, I believe it's called. Essentially, at the end of the original timeline, George Taylor, Charlton Heston, I guess this would make like a branch timeline, has gone off into the Forbidden Zone, left Dr. Zaius, Cornelius, and Zira on the beach. I'm not sure, I think they go back to look for him or something. And they discover a carcass of a giant ape
Oh right.
that's washed up on the beach.
Oh right. Okay.
So
Kaiju.
one thing leads to another, and they essentially go looking for.
The Hollow Earth.
Well, they go looking for the Skull Island of the Planet of the Apes. So it's
Wow.
like a future
Skull
Skull Island
Island.
that's obviously still there because it's exists in that universe.
Wow.
Um,
This is getting deeper and deeper into.
It's just so deep. This has
Yeah.
gone further into it.
I mean,
than
there's
I ever
I
imagined.
think there's a line. Talk amongst yourselves while I find my thing.
I'm going to say that I really liked Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I really
I-
did enjoy it.
I wasn't
It was
so-
it was
I
definitely
found my thing. Sorry.
Alright.
all right. Last thing on that. For me, it was the best of the new films.
Yeah, the other ones I just watched them and they were a bit of okay fun, but this one actually really did rock my socks. I really enjoyed it. The story was great.
So
Carry on, Jack.
this will make you want to pick this up
Yep.
because I've barely scratched the surface.
Okay.
This little paragraph says Marvel's android gorillas and the aforementioned brains in jars present. Ape ninjas and the simian Santa Claus included. 4 different giant apes accounted for. Sentient gibbons and mandrills and baboons and bonobons, oh my. All here. Taylor's 2 daughters, yep. Breck's 3 first names, here as well. 3 explanations for the plague, incorporated as 1. Ape Slayer, Martian apes, monstrous rodents, funky monkeys, and other bizarre characters and creatures. Got 'em all. 3 different alien invasions, including a visit from alien nations, Tectonus refugees. Like the old Prego spaghetti sauce commercial used to say, it's all in there.
Wow. So they've
So I barely really even
Wow.
scratched the surface.
Okay. Okay.
That is amazing.
So I've got to say we've got to round this off kind of towards the new set of movies, which are
Yes.
the CGI ones. So what are your thoughts on them?
So, I think the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, is, as much as I really like it, it's probably like the weaker of them.
I remember watching it not too long ago, and for me, the CGI looked really dated.
No,
Now, now,
I think it still looks good. Genuinely, I think it still looks good. There are elements. Obviously, it was made over 10 years ago, so
crikey, that long ago.
it was 2011, so 13 years ago.
Oh no, I'm old.
Like, even watching like sort of behind the scenes how they got that they lined up cameras all down that bridge to get all of the motion capture correct. Like it's quite a fascinating sort of making of.
Right.
Andy Serkis I think is really good as Caesar. I remember watching the Rise of the Planet of the Apes and thinking it was just a prequel to the original one. And then obviously Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out, which is similar actually to Battle of the Planet of the Apes in that you've got like a human faction of
Yeah,
you've got like the
That's,
remnants of humans.
Oh, what's it? Woody Harrelson, is it?
Woody Harrelson.
No,
War
that's
for the Planet of the
War.
Apes.
Right. Okay.
you got these confused the other day.
Right. Okay.
But Dawn
Maybe
is,
the second one. I
Dawn's
haven't
Gary
really...
Oldman, isn't it?
Gary Oldman's.
Oh, hang on a second. So he got a lot of armament, and he's living in a tower block or something.
They live in like a. Is it like a church? Or
Right.
Like a,
But it's human buildings.
yeah.
Yeah.
The apes they're still.
And
Caesar's still in his like forest that he was in at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
is that the one where they're trying to get the electric turbine working?
Yes, they need power.
And they need
from
the apes to go down and unblock
but
it.
the apes don't want them
Get
To get power.
or to just be in their vicinity because
Right, okay.
they're worried.
Mhm.
Cobra
Okay,
is the
so-
one who's against it. and
Right.
then-
Okay. So I can't.
Then
I
they get
remember
guns.
Yeah.
Then-
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is
That's the one with Woody Harrelson. Then
that's
No.
James Franco.
we're still on the
That's James
first.
Franco.
We're still on the second one.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
That's the first one.
The first one, Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
First one, Rise of the Planet.
Is,
Second one,
is similar to Conquest of the Planet
Okay.
of the Apes in that it Caesar's kind of rise to power.
Mhm.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is very similar to Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that contention between them coexisting.
Yeah, and then War for the Planet of the Apes kind of rounds off Caesar's arc,
Okay.
Yeah.
and we're left at the end of that with a child called Nova,
Mhm.
right.
and that's I mean it was supposed to then set up just the apes being
Yeah,
Wars
because
of Earth.
that was the thing. Cause the end of that is like also have the factions of the humans like basically wiping each other out.
and they're starting to lose their speech as well. 'cause of the
Exactly.
virus,
Yes.
Okay.
Because doesn't the kid give? No, it's via a teddy bear, isn't it? The teddy bear has like the virus on it, and then Woody Harrelson has
yeah.
that,
Starts to, yeah.
and then he goes dumb, and then he like doesn't Caesar like leave him a gun or something?
Yeah, I think he shoots himself. doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then obviously now
Now
as
we
of a
have-
couple of weeks ago, we had Kingdom of the Planet
Right.
of the Apes.
Yay!
What did you think of that? Finally, you might answer my question.
You asked me that question.
Take it.
an
Take
hour
me
and a
an
half.
hour and a half.
Love it. Every
I thought I'd
second.
give a bit of context.
Okay,
before.
okay.
This was content. Now we can get onto the podcast, Buzz.
I liked it.
Yay!
I liked it. I enjoyed seeing the apes a little bit more advanced because I think where they're at in like the original '60s film, I think is where they're at the most like interesting.
Yeah.
Especially like in the TV series. Another thing about the TV series is humans can speak in that timeline. and obviously it's 900 years before
Right.
the events of the first film.
Okay.
So it's implied that
They haven't lost their speech
they
yet.
haven't lost their speech yet, and they're still they're kind of slaves, and they still can roam freely-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I liked.
Which
Yes, I'm interested to see what they do.
I hope
in the
they do more.
future.
I hope they
Yeah.
do more. It's got like
My
unlimited
only-
potential, as we can see from this podcast.
My only disappointment is when I saw the trailer, I noticed that Nay, or Nova as they call her in the film,
I'm attacking my notes now.
she's obviously wearing modern day clothes, whereas the other humans are wearing like scruffs and loincloths. I thought it would have been interesting if she was like an astronaut, another astronaut that had...
the girl in the new movie.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I thought it was going to reveal.
Yeah, and because obviously I think we touched on it very briefly in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There's a news report that they've sent up Icarus.
Yeah.
That's it. And it gets
Icarus,
lost in the last.
Something to do with Mars, isn't
Something
it?
Yeah.
with Mars atmosphere was the last they hear from it.
so Icarus is a fan-made name for the Liberty One, which is the ship in the original film.
Yeah.
So this one's called Icarus,
Okay.
which has kind of like a little reference. So I thought, even at the end of War of the Planet of the Apes, I was thinking we're going to see like
Right.
in the distance
Something.
them crash down.
But 4 movies in, we still haven't seen it.
yeah, I hope they. That's one thing I hope. In the
However,
next few
spoilers. The end of this one, they finally managed to recalibrate the array of satellite
yeah.
dishes and speak to somebody somewhere.
films. So,
So-
who knows?
Anyway, right, we've literally now you've taken us on a
journey.
whistle stop journey.
Yes.
I probably still haven't even.
You've drawn a picture of a sailing ship. We've worn 8 masks and
Yeah.
a Charlton Heston. So this is bringing me up to 6 quick fire questions.
We also have a quiz.
We have a quiz.
We have a quiz as well.
We have a quiz.
For those still listening.
I'm going to get
He
my
said this
6
should be-
quick. Well, I'm going to get my 6 quick fire questions out.
You're like,
okay.
we'll keep this under an hour.
Nah, it's fine. Just go. It's 100 episode
It's
spectacular.
100.
yeah.
People can stop and come back to it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No, watch it entire.
are you
It's
happy to answer my 6 quick fire questions?
Yes.
Do.
Is this now become Planet of the Apes canon? You have
Okay.
to watch this as part of the series.
Yes.
So, okay, here we go.
We were just
Question
we did have Charlton Heston and Apes.
question number 1, Jack. Okay,
Oh Christ! I need to get out more.
out of the Planet of the Apes franchise, who's your favourite character?
Alan Verdon or maybe General Urko or
Okay.
Ursus. I mean, they're kind of the same character. Just
Are they played by the same guy?
I don't think so.
How
Okay.
can you tell?
Yeah, I think they reuse his mask. They definitely reuse his hat.
Okay.
I'm going to say Alan Verdon.
Okay, out of the whole of the Planet of the Apes, I've got to keep having to say the whole because there's so much more of it than we put into. What's your favourite scene?
Ooh,
What stands out, makes you go, oh, I love
favourite
that scene.
That is tricky. I think I'm going to go for one in the films and then one in the expanded media.
Okay, hit us with it.
One in the film, I think, is when we see Caesar in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, so the Roddy McDowall Caesar,
Yes.
rallying the ape troops, and then he's got like a big flame behind him. And
Is that towards the end of the movie?
yes, so he's finally sort of seized power.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really cool scene. Or obviously the end of the original.
Uh,
Oh, and one from the expanded one.
okay.
What about the end of Beneath the Planet of the Apes? Because it's so ridiculous.
It's not,
Yes.
it's not
Or
your
striking.
question, Jack.
I'm Zach. We do look
It's
quite
Jack's
similar.
question, not yours.
Zach is from another timeline.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the alternate timeline of him.
You're the ginger timeline.
He's the Ursus, I'm the Urko.
Yeah, he's the Zayas.
Dr. Zeus.
Dr.
Dr.
Zayas. Dr. Zayas. Right, okay.
Expanded media.
Oh, expanded media.
The Unknown Ape, the short story in Tales of the Forbidden Zone, when all the basically like
All the
Avengers
characters.
Endgame happens.
Okay.
All the characters from the franchise burst through a door for some reason.
So, question number 3, Jack. What type of ape would you choose to be?
Ooh, that's a
If you
tough
had to be,
question.
because basically they technically kind of have just 3 that they use.
main three. They're kind of like factions, aren't they?
Fractions.
You
So
got, like,
which
the-
faction
you-
would you
you
see
chimp-
yourself
I
being?
definitely wouldn't be a gorilla. It's not big enough.
Gorilla or
Oh, you can be
orangutan.
whatever you want to be.
So which one's Dr. Zeus?
He's an
He's
orangutan.
the scientific.
Dr. Zeus.
They're-
Dr. Zeus.
they're
Are they
Zayas.
orangutan?
Yeah,
He's
they're
an
orangutan.
orangutan.
Okay.
They're the
In-
science ones.
In Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, we get a different breed of orangutan.
Right.
Raka.
Yeah, the hippie guy.
The hippie guy.
The hippie guy.
He's the last follower of Caesar.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Um,
yeah, answer the question. Okay, this is 6 quick
I
fire
still reckon
questions.
he's
There is
alive.
a clue in the title.
Does it have to be an ape?
I'm really. It's a which. Just say ape. That's the question.
Oh, I'm going to be a human astronaut.
No, you're not going to be a human astronaut. What
That
ape,
always ends in lobotomy or death.
if you had to be in the ape factions, which faction would you choose?
Orangutan.
You'd be an orangutan.
I'd be the one making all the decisions
Okay.
on the timeline future.
Okay. You live in the world of Planet of the Apes.
Which
okay?
one?
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, which one specifically?
What would you make?
Which timeline?
Come on, what would you make? Peace or war?
Depends what timeline I'm in.
The original
If I'm in-
timeline.
If I'm in the world of Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
am I making peace or
Or
war?
war? That's it.
War. More
Okay.
fun.
He's Cobra. He's being Cobra.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've also I've got a bit of trivia that you'll like. James Norton, who plays Pete Burke in the TV series, is the brother of David Norton, who is American Werewolf in London guy. Turns into the Kessler Wolf.
Haha.
Ooh, there you go.
Sorry, Karen.
I have the Kessler werewolf over there. I can see it.
Question number 5. In your opinion, which is best? Real actors playing apes or CGI?
Real actors, I think they're the films I gravitate towards more.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I had to put like a Planet of the Apes film on, I would probably go through all of those before I get to the CGI ones.
Question number 6.
They're very good.
In the latest movie, which I know you've seen
Yes, in IMAX.
in IMAX, what do you think they were looking at through the telescope?
Ooh.
I mean, it's implied. I guess implied at the end it would be the satellites, wouldn't it? Possibly.
Yeah. Well, I kind of thought initially it was the moon because it's such a
Or
bright light.
Is it? Are they looking at the Hasslein curve?
That's where they need to
Or they're
go.
like,
or,
oh,
or, are they looking at your whiteboard?
They might, yeah.
You are the Hasslein
Someone needs
curve.
to edit that scene.
It's just your face.
Or, as you say, implied, is it some kind of space station or something? You know, so
I just really, I think in the subsequent films, I think it would be really cool to do, like you say, something like a bit more wacky and a bit more out there,
Like beneath the planet.
yeah, something along those lines, or even just having like more astronauts turn up, or just something to kind of spice it up.
I'm
yeah.
hedging my bets that it's some kind of space station.
Yeah,
That
Moonites.
Moonites. They have Moonites.
Abraham Lincoln from the end of from the 2001.
Anyway, that was my 6. Not quite so quick, but more quick fire questions.
What do you think about the end of the 2001 Planet of the Apes, the Abraham Lincoln?
I can't believe that's
Oh,
actually what
you're
it's
talking
called.
about the Tim Burton movie.
Yes.
I've actually been to the Lincoln Memorial.
It doesn't look like that.
Because I
got blown up in Civil War the other day.
It did.
My interpretation was that Thade at some point had gone back in time and rewritten history, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think they thought about it that much.
Personally, okay, so this is just
He's not on Earth.
I didn't really think about it. Okay, the way I interpreted it when I saw the movie
Yeah.
was he was trying to get back to his timeline,
Yeah.
his Earth,
Yeah.
and I think this vortex thing that they are studying,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's possibly answered the earlier question. You said, why are they not using robots and using chimps? Because I think they would maybe, like people do in the 21st century, is use animals in order to get to see if effects are going to affect human beings if they travel through these vortexes and things like that. But I think what we're seeing is like lots of different versions of the planet Earth in different kind of alternate universes, and he's trying to get back to his, but ends up on a different one.
Yeah, as much as I think it is that after all the stuff I've tried to explain, it's a little bit of a cop out. I do think the easiest explanation is just multiverse.
Well, that's how I interpret
Yeah,
it.
and
That's the explanation for everything now.
In my mind, I don't know if it is officially the way the fans think of it, but in my mind, the Hasslein curve is the way of like centralizing everything, especially for the original series of films. It's like they go through that and they come out at a different time.
Yeah.
Like if you can get your head around that, then that's probably the easier way of.
Well, we can't. We get into depth about time travel, but we explained that if
Listen to that
because
episode.
this is the time travel episode. But because if you can travel near to or at the speed of light, you can time for you slows down within your capsule compared to the relative time of whatever's outside. So if something outside is it's like two trains passing. If one is going at 100 miles an hour and one's going at 60 miles an hour, and the 100 miles an hour passes the 60 mile an hour one, relative, the time is one of them is only travelling 40 miles an hour slower. So the time in relation that's happening within that train is only 40 miles an hour behind the train that's going faster.
Go listen to the time travel episode.
Compared to somebody who's standing still on the platform, you see, where time really does stretch out. So it's like if you travel away from the planet Earth at the speed of light and you come back, you might have only aged X amount of years, but planet Earth will have gone through hundreds, if not thousands of years. So this Hasslein curve, if you're talking about that, if they're going through this kind of arc of speed, then they can pop out depending on the relative speed.
Okay, listen to that episode of Time Travel.
Yeah,
You know,
I can't emphasize that enough now.
you know, because it is possible to time travel into the future,
But
not so easy to time travel into the past.
but
This is a fictional.
but the question is, if we do time travel into the future, what is the likelihood it's going to be like a future dominated by apes?
But this was my point on to final point.
Or if we travel into the future, what's the likelihood that this episode will ever end?
Ooh.
It's quite a good
Ouch.
You're getting bored now. No, my point was that because Mark Wahlberg travels to a point which is technically, would you say that was modern day or?
Well,
Right,
the policemen are wearing like
It's
modern
day.
police-
But,
Well, it would be modern day to us, but not modern day to him
Him.
because he's from 2029.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
yeah,
was
he'd
gonna
technically
say.
be kind of in
He would
his...
still be in the past,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
a different past to the one he came from.
Yeah.
Although we don't ever see Earth in that 2029, so it could
No,
be
no,
that
no.
would just be how it looks. We don't know.
But
Maybe.
his Earth would have been populated by humans. That's the point.
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
time period. So he's gone back to an alternative.
Or they just
Earth.
didn't notice until that point. Everyone was
I just thought it was cool.
But it's interesting because if you're going to have
Maybe he is the
if
obscurity.
you're going to have
Yeah.
alternate Earths,
Do you want to?
alternate timelines, then we should throw up that you could quite easily just have dinosaurs that have, if they hadn't been not destroyed by the asteroid,
Mhm.
that we should
The
have.
actual. Where's the
We could have a
timeline
whole
book
new
gone?
planet of the dinosaurs.
Oh, where's the timeline book gone, guys?
Oh, you had it. I
It's
haven't moved it.
timelined off.
That's the Bible of my
Oh my
whole
God.
existence.
I don't know. You've lost
You had it on your lap.
I had it.
Have you got it behind your whiteboard?
Where is it?
I've only got the lexicon.
You
Oh,
haven't
I see,
given-
I've got it.
Okay.
Oh, he's put it back in his box.
It went through the curve.
Timey-wimey.
It went through the
It's a
curve,
different
guys.
book from a different universe.
What are you doing, Zach?
Oh, Heston fell down.
The actual timeline starts in 1 billion BC,
Oh, right.
and they go to 1445 BC, 1859.
You really do know yours.
That's on page 1. That's on page
I
1.
think
I think officially at this point, since this is a superfan episode, I think we have to have a vote. Is Jack a superfan?
I think that's unanimous.
Yeah, I think it is.
I...
Can we go home now?
we have to do a quiz.
We are gonna quiz.
We are home.
Okay, we got to finish off now. We're going to finish off with
Let's
this
get
super
quizzical.
So let's
Episode
get
100.
quizzical.
Quizzical. I want to get quizzical. Let's get into quizzical. Let me hear your ape talk.
Yeah, woo. And are we going head to head on this, or are we
Yeah, that's
just
a good question.
teaming up?
We have a whiteboard if we need to keep score.
Are we teaming up with our intellect here?
I think it's a difficult quiz, so I think you should team up.
We're going to
Okay.
team up. Go
Go team.
team.
Now,
Can the
I've been a
humans
bit
beat the apes?
sneaky.
All right.
I've made up everything. I'm joking.
He's made up everything.
Lol, it was an April Fool's.
He's taken one of these books. That is...
I'm joking. I've tried to mention all of these at some point in the podcast. So
Oh, look, he's been sneaky.
hopefully
were you
you're
paying
paying
attention?
I wasn't paying attention. No. I was over this side. I was over this side of the screen, nodding off.
So if you were paying full attention, you should know the answers to all of these.
Okay.
Oh,
Question
jeez.
1 is 10.
Is it multiple choice?
No.
Oh dear.
Okay. What is the only of the original series of 5 films
Yep.
not to feature Roddy McDowall?
Ooh. It's gotta...
Is there one?
Ooh.
Is there one that's?
What's your thought process for the audio listeners?
Okay, so I know we watched the 3rd, 4th, and 5th one like consecutively, and I know he's in those.
Isn't it the one where they're the battle up for underneath the Planet of the Apes or something?
What the hell's Battle
Oh,
for the Underneath?
No,
So
no,
quick.
no, hang on. Is it? Oh, God, I haven't
You mean
watched it.
Beneath?
Beneath the Planet of the
You're
Apes.
saying Beneath?
Was that the one with the bomb?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll stick with that one.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's the most plausible to not have him in it.
You are correct.
Yes!
But for slightly the wrong reason.
Oh.
Cornelius is in it. He's just played by a different guy.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Roddy McDowall.
Yeah, but you
technically
did
isn't-
say Roddy McDowall.
Yeah. So Roddy McDowall technically isn't in it, but Cornelius is.
Yeah, I like Roddy McDowall.
Question 2.
We got it right.
He's a great actor.
1.
Question 2. Who plays Thade's father named Zaius in the Tim Burton film from 2001?
Well, that's
Yeah.
And for our audio listeners,
for our audio listeners. It's Charlton Heston.
Charlton Heston.
There you
Okay.
are.
Take your hands off me, you damn
Pause.
Pause. Take your dirty hands off me, you damn dirty
that
ape.
is completely wrong.
I don't care.
Question 3.
I'm quoting from one of the books.
Question
What's it
3.
all to the
Which
timeline?
timeline?
Question 3.
Question 3.
According to the proposed timeline,
Oh, God.
who crashes further into the future? George Taylor or Alan Verdon?
George Taylor. Alan Verdon. We should have been paying attention.
I think we should.
I've hidden the timeline as well, so you
Yeah,
can't see
he's
it.
done it.
He's-
You haven't written on it. Or maybe you did. George Taylor.
Wait, okay. So we got to establish who Alan Verdon was. Was he the guy who went for Beneath the Planet of the Apes?
I don't know. I'm going George Taylor.
I'll give you a clue. No. It's Brent.
Okay. What Buzz
Alan
said.
Verdon is the TV series.
Okay. So that's earlier. So what was the question?
According to the proposed timeline, who crashes further into the future? George Taylor or Alan Verdon?
Taylor.
Correct.
Yes.
By about 900 years further.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, because he said 900 years in,
Okay.
in the podcast.
Okay.
I was listening.
How many questions are there?
10.
Oh,
How many
right.
did we get right?
2.
You're 100% so
All
far.
right. Okay.
Yes.
Question 4.
Question 4.
We got 3 right.
Name all 3 apes played by Roddy McDowall in the franchise. This is specifically live action because he
Right.
might have appeared in the games or
That
something.
would
I
be
don't know.
Galen,
Cornelius.
Cornelius, and Caesar.
Caesar.
Correct.
4 out of 4. We
Question
are
5.
Fans.
You've become ape experts
Ape.
through this podcast.
Apex.
Apex.
Well,
You don't know where to go with that.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Question 5. In what year do Zera, Cornelius, and Milo arrive on Earth after a shockwave from the Alpha Omega bomb sends them back in time through the Hasslein curve?
Oh, was that 1981? 82? It would have to be in the future from when, from the time period that
I
people are
don't
watching the movie,
know.
because it'd be set in the near future.
I don't know. This is on you. It's 80 something. 80 something. I think it's low 80s. We can
Low
narrow
80s?
it down to
I would
that.
say 82.
Is that what you're looking in?
Or could it be 80?
It could be 81. Ah, 81.
Incorrect.
Oh, what was it?
1973.
Really?
We were way off.
So they
Wait,
crash.
wait.
I believe they crash a year after George left.
Right. Okay.
Oh no, we're
So
one down.
in like
Maybe I was-
human time, they've seen a ship go up, and then a year later, one come down with apes in it.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's 1980 that Verdon leaves Earth.
Right. Okay.
That's
See,
might
you
be why
should
you got
have
a bit
been
confused.
paying attention.
Verdon
Should
and
have paid
Bert.
attention.
Number 6, question 6. ALZ 112 and ALZ 113 is also known as what?
Let's see.
So I'll give you a clue. This is more for the later films.
The later, are we talking?
Ooh.
Are we
Ooh,
wait,
wait,
hang on a minute.
wait.
Is that
ALZ
the?
has
Is
a clue.
is this not the virus?
It's the virus.
It's the virus.
What's it called?
The virus.
It's the first virus which Caesar gets.
It's the Dum Dum virus.
And then the second one that's the Dum Dum virus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the one that
Also known as what?
anti-Alzheimer's.
Fraxoin.
No,
The wheels have fallen off,
Oh,
guys.
That's Fraxoin's Doctor
that's
Who.
Doctor Who. Oh, goodness gracious!
It's quite straightforward.
Bad disease.
You ready to say?
Go on then.
It's the simian flu,
Damn it!
Oh, the simian.
an artificially created retrovirus. apparently.
Okay, which is what we're probably all going to get in the next pandemic. Anyway.
Oh dear.
Okay, number 7.
Number 7.
In Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, it is explained that all dogs and cats were killed within a few months by a virus brought down from space. But what year did this occur?
1973.
Oh,
You're
you just.
close.
No.
This is why the timeline doesn't make sense.
Oh right,
Oh.
1976 then.
Was it
You were
some?
closer with your first
Was it
one
83?
before.
83.
Yeah, 83.
Yes!
83. All right.
Did we get that right?
You got half a point.
Yeah,
I'm
half a
keeping, keeping score.
4.5, I think.
Just throwing darts at the dartboard in that one.
Question number 8. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes
Okay.
marks how many official live-action films in the Planet of the Apes franchise? But I'm not going to include the telefilms, so this is just...
Okay.
So, I'll do the question again.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes marks how many official live-action films in the Planet of the Apes franchise?
Planet, Beneath, Escape, Conquest, Battle, Tim Burton, Rise, Dawn, War, Kingdom. 10.
Correct, I've got 10.
Whoa, well, I'll give you a round of applause for that, Zach.
I'm good with my films.
Naming all
I
of
think
those.
it's technically 16 if you count the...
We don't
telefilms.
count. They don't do the telly movies.
No,
I do.
he does.
He does.
He's,
they're
he's
really
a
good.
pure,
Super fan.
He's a
Because they're
pure,
really
he's a
good.
purist.
Super fan.
And you get more Galen, so...
He loves his Galen.
Question 9. This is nearly impossible, so good luck with this one. Okay. What is the final line spoken by an unseen narrator at the climax of Beneath the Planet of the Apes?
Oh no.
Isn't that what you keep saying about
The final line.
Then ended the little green
It was,
planet.
it was like, it was... Oh, I don't know. Does it have to be word perfect?
I'll give you like close enough.
It
You get the same sort of vibe.
Little green
was then a
planet.
small green planet died.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
What was it?
So in one of countless billions of galaxies in the universe lies a medium-sized star, and one of its satellites, a green and insignificant planet, is now dead.
All right.
See, I love that. I love that ending.
The fact
So
that
brutal.
there's some mysterious voice from the ethers.
Yeah, it's basically just Charlton Heston not wanting to do any more Planet of the Apes films.
Okay.
It blows the whole
Do
thing up.
not invite me back. I will not do it
And,
until Tim Burton pays me enough.
Just like the Hasslein curve, we're bringing it all the way back to the
All the
beginning.
way back. It's question number 10.
But
What-
which beginning?
What year was the original novel by Pierre Boulle published?
Oh, 1964.
Locking it in.
Sure.
1963.
Damn it! Honestly, I was counting on you.
Oh,
The
well
last
done, though.
minute.
I
Good.
thought I'd remembered that one.
I thought you'd. I didn't think you'd do as well as you did, but you did.
Did we pass?
You passed the ape test.
Okay, we are fans.
Yeah.
But maybe not super fans.
Not as fan. No, you have proven yourself, Jack, to be one of the ultimate Planet of the Apes fans.
Okay.
So recommendations from me, if you're a Planet of the Apes, or if you wanted to get into the franchise,
Mhm.
obviously the original series of films.
Yep.
More accessibly, you can watch the later trilogy now.
Quadrilogy.
Pick up Timeline of the Planet of the Apes if you want to be an absolute proper nerd. Tales from the Forbidden Zone is really good, and definitely, if you're going to take anything away from this, watch the TV series because it's really good.
Which leaves us.
Noted.
That's the
Which-
live-action TV series,
which-
not to be confused with the animated series. Which
There you go. You've heard it here. Which leaves us with one last thing.
Which is
Wisdom of the week. Now, I've tried to get Wisdom of the Week to be kind of like
AP themed.
AP theme. Okay.
Really, I was joking.
Okay. So this is the Wisdom of the week.
2 hours.
This is the.
It's okay. It's like the Star Wars episode we
Okay.
did. If
Do
you
you
haven't
want, do you
seen
want to
that,
hear this wisdom or not?
look at the Star Wars one.
Okay. Wisdom of the week is an ape that gets drunk on alcohol will only ever do it once. Thus, it's far more intelligent than most humans.
That's
How profound.
especially for us.
After all we've discussed about apes.
There you go.
Oh man, that was fantastic. Do we reckon we like this format? Are we going to do more video episodes?
I think we shall.
Yes.
I
but-
really like, as a founding father of the Now We Know show, I really do like this.
I think especially
setup.
if we're doing taste testings and things like that.
Oh, imagine
Yeah,
that.
and I think it helps when we're trying, obviously, if it's an audio only format, we're trying to describe what these things look like or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Having the visual element, I think you guys will agree,
Yeah.
is a really good way
Yeah.
of you seeing us. And
It gives our wonderful audience out there both the ability to listen to it audio, or if they want to click over to YouTube, they can see our ugly mugs.
Ugly, I am beautiful.
Well, there you go.
And I have nothing on Charlton Heston.
Well, there you go.
In his golden years.
I
and you
like
can
it,
see my
I
General
could be-
Versus t-shirt, which I'll keep explaining.
I'm probably the only gorilla with a ginger beard at the moment.
Or you're an orangutan.
Orangutan, rangatango,
A buzzatang.
buzzatang. There you go. Anyway, let's round this off.
I should say, before we started this, Buzz was like, we'll try and keep it under an hour.
2 hours later.
That's fine, I can put it in fast forward.
It's been fantastic. Thank you, Jack, for coming in and taking on this absolutely amazingly in-depth
Yes,
look into the franchise of Planet of the Apes.
Is there anything you've learnt from this podcast?
All
everything.
What's your favourite fact that I've taught you about the Planet
That
of the Apes
there is a
franchise?
King Kong graphic novel.
Favorite
Of
fact?
all the things.
No, I like King Kong, okay?
I like the fact that you can draw spiders. Really well.
I do like the timeline, like,
If anyone's
drawing.
wondering how to work out the timeline of Planet of the Apes, here you go.
Can we get like a close up on this? Can we like for those at home, please pause this video.
This is the Hasslein curve.
It's a ship. Started off as a spider, and now it's a sailing ship.
There
It
we
might
are.
even be entirely incorrect as well. There'll be
This
fans
is
out there that are like,
this
no,
is
that
Jack.
doesn't make
This
sense.
is Jack's interpretation
Yes.
of the Hasslein
The whole
curve.
the
It's a
whole thing.
well-researched
The whole thing is
interpretation.
riding on top of
Does
Tim Burton's.
Charlton Heston agree? Yes, I do.
He said, take your hands off my timeline, you damn dirty Jack.
Can Charlton Heston
Jack's
become...
not dirty.
Can he become like an actual cameo going forward for the next 100 episodes?
Maybe for the videos. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but
If you look back on all the
It's
videos,
time-
he's there in the
it's
background.
time, it's time
Just
to
imagine
say
his
goodbye.
face.
It's time to say goodbye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to this channel and comment below any suggestions of topics or activities you'd like to listen to in future episodes.
That's a big orangutango goodbye from Buzz.
That's a big get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes. Goodbye from Charlton Heston. And a big Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus. Goodbye from Zach.
Oh dear, Jack doesn't know what to do.
Oh, and a Planet of the Apes goodbye from Jack.
Goodbye.
You can find the Now We Know Show podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Keep up to date with everything ZWP on Facebook and Instagram, or visit the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And remember to join us on Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access content and exclusive episodes.